Hey everybody, it is Corey Poirier with bLU Talks back here live with the latest bLU Talks Flip Your Script event with my co-host Elise Rothman.
Hello, Elise Rothman from Flip Your Script Coaching. So excited for our first 2021 Flip Your Script Go From Waiting to Creating event.
Awesome, I love it. Go from waiting to creating.
I know, I just added that. We haven't talked about that backstage, but really, like, if you're waiting, let's just start creating.
Love it. You're waiting. Let's just start creating. I love it.
Yeah.
And so big news just before we jump right into things. I've often showed get this in here correctly, bLU Talks, bLU Talks first book in the series. So the bLU Talks presents Business, Life, and the Universe. And we literally today, are announcing that the books we just launched last week, which would be book number 2 and book number 3, are both also #1 international bestsellers. So
yay! Well, congratulations, and I'm getting in the next book. I keep missing the deadline.
Yeah, but you're in the next one.
Okay.
Well, you're in the next one if you make the deadline.
Right.
You can see our guest that's about to jump on here was in the first book in the series. So,
congratulations, Lori.
Thank you.
Awesome. So that's a good segue to introduce our guest. So Lori Karpman, so excited to have you here today. We didn't do as much of a preamble because I think people are getting to know the bLU Talks Presents Flip Your Script, and they get to know us throughout anyway. But Lori, where we usually like to start with these is we usually like to get the guests to tell us just a little bit about themselves before we dive right in to get to know them a little better. So Lori, you've been on a journey with me for a while. You were a part of my speaking program from years gone by. Yeah. You're part of bLU Talks. You're in the bLU Talks book. You're speaking at an upcoming bLU Talks event. So outside of that, can you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Okay, well, I am the CEO of Lori Karpman and Company, and we are a full-service business development firm. We specialize in the franchise model, which is what we were talking about, how to grow your business using other people's money. I've been in the industry for about 30 years, 20 of which I spent practicing law. So I have that. I'm retired, so I'm a reformed attorney. And now I do business development, consulting, and executive coaching.
Wow. So
you just like nailed that. Now that's a franchise model right there, Lori.
There you go.
It's I mean, Lori obviously knows her well, what do we call it? The elevator speech?
The elevator pitch. Yeah.
Yeah. She knows it inside and out. So I love that. So Lori, I guess, can you tell us maybe a little bit about, and you'll probably see it's fluid. Elise and I'll jump back and forth as we have questions. But my first question is, can you tell us about how you got into that whole business? Because I don't hear many people say they're in that industry.
Yeah, I sort of fell into it, and I think a lot of people sort of fall into their industries. I was
Lori. I guess I don't know what happened there. Can you tell us what's going on there? Thing just popped up on mine. Sorry, didn't mean to interject you there, Lori.
Yeah, no worries. So I started my career actually as a tax lawyer, which I practiced for about 7 years. Wasn't crazy about it, but that's what I fell into. And then a friend of mine who was the owner of a multi-billion-dollar company called me and said they were looking for in-house counsel, and I jumped at that opportunity. So I went to work for them, and they had 3 different businesses, all of which were franchised. So they owned one chain of restaurants. They were the franchisor, and in another chain, they were the master franchisee. So I spent about 10 years there learning really everything there was to know about franchising. And subsequently, I left that, and I went out with a partner, and we created a chain of franchised restaurants. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool. It was this really...
What kind of restaurant?
It was a very eclectic Asian fusion restaurant.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like, it wasn't like your grandparents or your parents' Chinese restaurant. It was green and yellow, and it had all this funky artwork, and it was really eclectic. It was absolutely wonderful. And we got in and we said, okay, we love doing this, but within 5 years, we're going to be out.
Right.
And that's what we did. So we built the system. We started winning all sorts of awards for our creative work and our branding and our menu and all that kind of stuff. And so we got this international recognition. And in our 5th year, we were bought out by a US restaurant development group. So I was like in my early 40s and thinking, okay,
dang, girl.
you know, like, what am I going to do with my life now that I'm grown up, right?
And I'm rich.
And yeah, I've got money and I'm grown up and like, what am I going to do now? So I've always loved consulting. And I realized that I had really a multitude of skills to bring to the table in the franchising space. I'd had the operations, and I had executive recruiting, and I had all the marketing and the branding and obviously the legal side of it. And so I opened Laurie Karpman and Company, which is a full service firm. And brands come to us because they want to expand using whatever form of business model that may be, franchising, licensing, distributorships. And we provide every single service they could need. So they don't need to hire any other professionals. Whatever they need, whether it's marketing, finance, accounting, investment, we handle absolutely everything from A to Z.
That's amazing. So what is the name of the franchise? Like, is it something you can share?
Oh, yeah, it was called Zing Noodlery. I don't know if it exists anymore because this was like some, 15 or 18 years ago. So I don't know.
Zing Noodlery?
Yeah, ZYNG.
I love it.
Yeah, it's called Zing Noodlery. And noodlery is a word that we invented that we actually own.
I love it. So you coined it.
Yep, coined it. That's our word. We own it.
So do you have a culinary background, or was this just something that came to be?
I don't have a culinary background per se, although I've spent 20 years working in the restaurant industry. So I have the background in terms of the marketing and the operations.
Awesome. I love it. I'm a chef from a few careers back. So I have an affinity for culinary endeavors. So that's awesome.
That's interesting. Wow, you've got all sorts of interesting
things.
Oh,
girl, you don't even know. We'll have to set up a little time to chat out.
You're so cool. I gotta know you better.
Well, I'm excited. I'm super excited. I had no idea that you were so multi-layered.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've always believed every time that I've made a career change, I've always looked to make a career change somewhere where I can acquire a new skill set. Ooh. So over the years, I've reinvented myself and had a few careers. And every time I've done that, I've learned a new skill set. And that's what allows me to do what I do today. And it accounts for the success that we have because I've really spent a lot of time honing skills.
You know what? I love how you define that, how you are able to, package your experience, that you are learning new things and these skills are part of your portfolio.
Yeah.
Right? They're like the tools in your toolkit.
Yeah. And I'm a big believer in continued education. So I'm always taking courses and doing programs and certifications and all sorts of things to keep myself current with new skills that I can continue to have new things to offer my clients.
Now, where do clients find you? Like, do they say like what are you under? Like brand franchise, startup?
They would find me under franchise consultant. Mm-hmm. But the best way is just to stick my name into Google. Just put Laurie Karpman into Google. I'm a prolific writer, so I have like 12 pages. So you could certainly find me through there.
Oh, that's awesome. Corey, I know I'm chit-chatting with Laurie. Like we've been hanging out for years.
That's all good. That's 100% great. So a couple things I want to ask you, Laurie. Well, I'll comment on one thing and then ask you one thing. But the comment is what you mentioned there about going into fields or industries where you can learn something new, a new skill. I'll tell you what that makes me think of. Have you guys, either of you actually, read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Yes, of course.
Have you, Elise?
Well, it's been on my shelf, so maybe I've gotten some of the information, because it's been with me for so long.
Well,
but no, I haven't. Does it come on audio? Because I will listen to it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. On Audible.
Yeah, I can do that while I'm doing something
Yeah, the book's done okay. Last number I heard, I think it sold 26 million copies. So I'm thinking they probably want to have that on Audible as well to make sure they get as many readers and listeners as they can.
Yeah,
Why I bring that up with Robert Kiyosaki, the author of it, is I heard him deliver a talk one time in Boston about just that, what he did. And he shared it in the book, actually, because he said it. And then I hadn't read the book yet. I heard he was the keynote. I heard a little bit about him, but I hadn't read the book. And then I read it after. And in his keynote, he talked about, and again, he says it in the book, what he did with his life and career. And I think this is so amazing that somebody would put their long-term goal on hold to learn these skills. But he said he wanted to learn how to become, for example, the best communicator. So what he did was he spent 5 years selling photocopiers at Xerox to learn how to become a better communicator. Then he wanted to be a good leader. So he went into the military for years to become a leader. And he did this with 4 or 5 vocations. And then ultimately, like I say, 26 million copies sold. How many keynotes has he delivered? He obviously ended up doing okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty amazing to me that he was willing to put in like 4 and 5 years at a time to develop his skill set in industries that he didn't really want to spend his life in.
Right.
Like that's crazy to me. Like he probably spent 15 to 20 years doing stuff he knew he didn't want to do ultimately just to improve his skill set. There's not many people who had that much discipline. So when you said that, it made me think of that.
Yeah, like I like new skills that I like. Like I don't mind picking up new skills that I find interesting.
I'm with you, Elise.
Yeah, I had a sense that you were like on that page with me. If it's tasty, if it's fun, if it helps me and be inspired so I could be the best version of me for someone else, sign me up.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So and I mentioned it only because of the fact that I hadn't heard anybody else say it like that before, and it just popped into my head about him saying that. But the question I had, and sort of a question, is around the idea of one of the things that I love that you do, Lori, is that you work within a niche or niche, depending on what way we want to say the word, but you don't sort of make apologies for that. Like anytime I've talked to you, you always mention the franchise part of working with people, whereas a lot of people want to sort of serve everybody, so they don't want to niche or niche down. But at the same time, what's that thing that says, if you try to serve everybody, maybe you're really serving nobody? And I love that you are so focused that you don't even say, I work with franchisees and I also work with this and this and this and this and this. You pretty much on your website, everywhere else, it says, even when I go to your website, it comes up franchise management consultants at the top of your website. So my question is, I assume that's intentional. Did you start out that way, or did you start as a generalist and then say, no, I gotta dive deeper and I gotta niche this thing down?
Actually, I started right away with my niche in the franchise industry. I've been working in the franchise industry as a franchisor, as a franchisee, as legal counsel. So I really had a wide range of knowledge in the industry, not just from the legal perspective, but from the marketing and the operations perspective. And when I looked at the people who do what I do in my industry, there are people who do the legal work, and then there's people who do the marketing and the creative. It's very rare that your lawyer does your marketing and creative work. Mm-hmm. And that's what I do. So I stuck with franchising because that had been an industry that I'd been in for 10 years. I knew really well. I was also very prolific and I spoke a lot. So people really knew me in the industry. And so it seemed like the next right thing. And also I had just gotten divorced at that time, and my children were young, and I wanted something where I could work at home. And I could be home for my kids when they got home from school. So, the franchise shingle really helped me to differentiate myself from other management consultants. Love it.
And it was, if I had it correctly, when you said it was Zing Asian Grill, is that what?
Zing Noodlery.
Noodlery. Now that sounds like a food truck to me, girl.
Yeah.
Would that be the same as Zing Asian Grill, I wonder?
Yes.
What year did you found it?
Oh my God. I found that in early 2000s.
Okay. The only reason I was asking is because I was curious, and so I Googled it, and there's a Zing Asian Grill franchise overview. Well, not overview, but on franchising.com. But it says it was founded in 1998. Franchising started in 1999.
Yeah.
Corporate offers Montreal.
Yep.
So is that
That's
the one
you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
that's still going then?
It's still going. Well, I have my old partner who kept the rights to it. I mean, we sold it and I left and, he kept some of the Canadian development rights. So, but it's not being developed in Canada. It's only being developed in the US right now.
Oh,
Okay.
I'll have to check it out and see if I can find one.
Yeah. Well, if you do, let me know.
I will. I'll take a video of me like eating these delicious bites. If they still taste good, you never know when you give it up.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Or you pass it on and somebody else comes in with their flavor profiling and
Right. Yeah.
So I can say in the US, if this is where this is at, I can say in the US it's still running too, because there's Zing Noodlery, and it says looking for franchisees for 2021.
Well, there you go.
So
I'm going to go for that.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. I lost track of it a while ago, but that's cool to know that it's still going on.
Yeah, on Franchise Gator. In case you want to.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out for sure.
Franchise Gator?
Yeah, franchisegator.com.
Interesting.
Well, you know all these websites anyway, probably, right?
Oh, yeah, I know them all.
Yeah, that's wild.
Any website that has the word franchise in it, I know.
That's so funny. I did a little franchise researching back in the day when I was, creating the startups as a brand architect. Now I'm a mindset architect. I help an individual become the best brand that they can be, right? You are a brand, so let's help you start to recognize, release, and restore yourself as this most amazing brand, and then go out and do whatever. But so I looked into distributorships and franchises, and there's a big differentiation between, having a distributorship, which gives you a lot more leeway, and then a franchise. Right. I found, which I was not aware of until I kind of dove in, to the choices of the industry.
Right. Yeah. And there's also licensing, which is between distributorships and franchising is licensing, which is less strict than franchising, but more strict than a distributorship.
Right, because franchising, I felt like for the food industry, I had a company called Buckets Full of Seafood. We'll have to chat. It's still like ready to roll, but I wanted to have creative licensing to be able to change a little. With franchising, you're pretty locked in, right? I mean, once you kind of make your decision on how that package is and how you want the brand to be and unfold. Are you kind of locked in, or is that just something?
No, not really. The beauty of franchising is that concepts have to continue to redevelop their brand.
Okay.
Every 7 years, on average, a franchisor comes out with a brand new logo, a brand new look. They come out with new store models. So it's everywhere that, brands refresh between, 5 to 7 years, they do a refresh.
Kind of like a human being, like every 7 years, we have some sort of transition going on.
That's right. That's right.
That's so funny. I never really thought about it like that. Okay. So every 7 years. So I'm going to pay attention, because we see different companies rolling out, especially the fast food chains, like all of a sudden they have a new look, they have a new logo, they're acronyming, they're changing something. So that's an industry thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wow, I had no idea. That's very interesting.
So, Lori, to circle around because we try to cover mindset as well on the Flip Your Script event. And so, can you take us back? So I go in two directions. One, I'm curious to know what you do from a mindset perspective to keep yourself healthy, well, all those kind of good things. But secondly, when we talk about flipping your script, I'm curious, can you take us back to whenever you moved from franchisee, I got to think those terms better, to helping franchises. What was that like? What was that moment like? Did you have to change your mindset? Did you have to start telling a new story? I'm just curious what that looked like when that change officially happened.
When that change officially happened, there was a new story because I was really well known in the franchise industry before because I sat on the board of Canadian Franchise Association and the Quebec Franchise Association. So I was really well known in the industry. But when I sold the chain of restaurants and I opened up my consulting, there was a change of story because I had to let people know that we were completely full service. And there is, people say to me like, well, who are your competitors? And I say, we don't really have any, because there's other people who do parts of what we do, but there's nobody out there in the franchise space that does all of what we do. And that was really what I was communicating as my message, is that we're completely full service. And our tagline is, we even worry for you. So
I'm telling you, you're such a New Yorker.
I'm from New York.
A New York Jew. We even worry for you.
Yeah, absolutely. A Jew for sure.
I'm a New York Jew. I've heard it before. We'll even worry for you.
There you go.
That's so funny. I'm curious. So are you Canadian based solely, or do you work internationally with clients?
Yeah,
As being an American, I'm curious.
Yeah, my client base is international. I have about 50% of my clients are Canadian, and about 35% are US. And the balance are international. So I've got clients in Australia and in Dubai and in Paris and Italy and the UK and different places all over the world.
I am so excited to have met you. You don't even know. Wait till I start whipping out my companies that I've created that are ready to just hit the world globally.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
And we didn't even chit chat, Corey. I had no idea. OPM, I'm thinking you do real estate, off-market properties, like multi-use.
No, OPM, other people's money, how to grow your business using other people's money. And that's what the franchise model is. It's using, instead of going to the bank, you find individual investors called franchisees. They invest in your business. They open up their own location. And so you've got all these new locations opening without the cost and, without having to have a bank loan and interest, and without having to actually manage all of these locations yourself.
That's awesome. I mean, obviously that's how the industry works, but I'm thinking OPM, I think real estate all the time.
Sure.
Oh, buy a piece of property or, land with somebody else's money, but actually you can actually build your entire company.
Yep.
OPM.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what my clients do.
Love it. So Corey, where are we at? I want to ask her mind seed. I'm ready.
We still have 10 minutes. We still have
So I do want to point out one of the things that you did share that I would like to share with our viewers that I think is really important, is that you followed your inspiration. As you grew in your career, you made a point, you were intentional in learning something new.
Absolutely.
Where did he go?
We lost Corey.
I guess. So did you look for things that you were inspired by to learn that were new, or were you kind of open to anything? Or because it's an abundant way of living your life.
Yes. For me, what I choose to learn is based on being able to develop new revenue streams. So it goes without saying that it has to be something that I'm interested in. So it has to be a skill that I'm interested in learning. So one of the things that I did was I went out and I got a coaching certification. So the coaching certification really allows me to be able to help my clients in a much larger way, despite the fact that they're franchisors.
Right.
And it gives me another revenue stream in that I do coach and have a separate coaching program for entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So that was one of the things that I did. And so I find what I'm interested in professionally are skills that I enjoy, like public speaking, writing, coaching. Those are all the things that I really enjoy. So I search out opportunities that allow me to sort of tap into one of those.
Perfect. So that's something that I encourage everybody who's listening here live and or on the replay to start maybe finding some seeds that you can plant in your life that not only inspire you and excite you, but may also lend to this new way of being and provide a new revenue stream.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. And that's exactly what I did was I looked, what do I like and what can I turn into a revenue stream? And so I, looked for the intersection between those two things.
That's a seed right there. We could just be okay, everybody have a great week, go out, follow these simple steps, and then come back to us and let us know how you're growing.
Sure.
So I'd like to circle back. Like I said, we probably have 5 to 10 minutes. So I'd like to circle around a couple things. I mean, I want to circle back to the business, Lori, and maybe ask a lesson or two you've learned. But before we go there, because I mentioned I want to talk about the mindset side of things for a minute or two, can you tell us, I always like to get everybody's approach to this, because I feel like a lot of people think the happy people, or the whatever you want to call them, inspired people, just wake up every day that way and never need any help. And it's, like it's just instant inside of them. And my experience has been most people that are like that have to invest a lot of time in their well-being. So I guess my question is, how does that work for you? Like, do you have things in place for when you have a bad day? How do you get back out of that funk? Do you have self-care approaches or habits? I just like to get your take on how you work within that.
Sure. I'm really big on self-care and on mindset. So I do meditate regularly, and I've been doing that for 30 years. And I find that that's, really added a new dimension in my life that allows me to get peace during really stressful times. And so that's sort of what my mindset is based on. I also am really good about making sure that I take time off, because people think that time, that you work like a dog and then you have the right to have time off. When the fact is it's completely reversed, where, you need the time off in order to be able to recuperate so that you can work the following week. So time off is not a reward, it's a necessity. And that's really something that I try to get through to my clients, is to make sure that they're having balance and they have quality of life. And that's what I try to make sure for myself, is that I have a balance between my private time, and my personal time. So for example, and this is relevant now because of COVID, all these people are working at home. So I've been working at home for many years, about 15 years. But I get up in the morning and I get dressed and I put on work clothes, and I officially come into my office and open my computer, and then I'm at work. That's my day. I don't do things during the day that I wouldn't do if I could, or that I couldn't do if I had an external office, like laundry and dishes and all that kind of stuff. So that waits till after. And then at the end of the day, I close my computer, I close the light in my office, and I walk out and I'm home. So the only place I do work is in my office. My computer has never seen the inside of my bedroom. Unless it's for reading, it goes, I'll take reading and I'll do that on the couch. But that's a real way for me to maintain a healthy work-life balance, and to have a quality of life so that I can differentiate between work and home, especially when you work at home.
That's great tips.
Yeah, I personally love that. And I love that you make that a priority, because again, not everybody does that or will do that. It's interesting you say that, Lori, because one of the things that has been, for most people that know me, it's been sort of a struggle for them to, I don't want to say get their head around, but I mean, maybe that's the best way to say it. But I have 2 young children. One is 5 months. 6 months, I think, tomorrow.
Wow, I can't even believe it's been 6 months.
I know. Like, I've been watching his kids grow up on Facebook for 3-4 years now.
Yeah, the older one is
had the baby.
What's that? Sorry,
I feel like she just had the baby. It's
I know, it's incredible. 6 months.
The oldest one is, I don't know. The oldest one, his birthday is in July, so it's not his birthday tomorrow, but it's like the day of his birth. If you know, the day in the month. The only reason I know that is because the youngest one, he's the one that's how I remember their birthdays. It's the opposite. So one was born July 19th, 2017. The other was born July 17th, 2019.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, they're 2 days apart, basically. But anyway, so what happened was...
What's 9 months before? No, I'm just kidding.
It's Kelly's birthday. It is actually her birthday.
Aww, so it was a well-celebrated birthday for a couple of years.
Niagara Falls for Sebastian. We were in Niagara Falls. We went to see the Rocky Horror Picture Show that night.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Me too.
I haven't seen that in 40 years.
Well, I would
dress up.
Me? Yeah, we dressed up. Yeah, actually, the picture just came up as a memory 3 days ago. Or I guess that makes sense, 2 days ago, because it would be whatever year, right?
I'll have to go look at it and see.
Yeah, so I guess it came up. It must have come up November or something. Anyway, or I posted it in January, one way or the other. But yeah, I'll see if I can find the picture and send it to you at least if you can't find it. But as far so I have the young kids, and one of the things that's been hard for people to sort of realize, but also I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to use the word accept, but is the fact that on the weekends I am not online doing the stuff like I used to do. And so I get all kinds of messages and people are like, hey, can you send me this right away? Can you do this right away? And I'm not even seeing the stuff for hours, sometimes a full day. And so right now, and it was not just because of the child, because I didn't do it with Sebastian. For a year, I didn't do it. I started finally doing it. But it was also for myself and for our family. But now I don't work in the evenings or weekends. There's exceptions to the evening thing if it's like, I signed up for this inner circle and they only seem to go in the evenings because of the time difference. But other than an exception like that, which I'm choosing to make, I don't work evenings or weekends. And that's been, for me, very healthy. But it's been hard for people to adjust to because everybody's on all the time now.
Well, not everybody. I don't do work stuff. Like I make listen, my computer has seen my bedroom. I'm just telling you, I do my best work early in the morning. Like I'm like in the zone, right there. However, I make a point, like, especially for my coaching, and for that as a speaker and that kind of thing, after 5 o'clock, like I really don't even see clients unless I have to in the evenings. Like, and I make a point, if they reach out, I'll reach out. Like my clients have 24-hour access, but on the weekends, like I've always just made it a point, like it's kind of my playtime, and you set precedence with it. I mean, we have this retreat now, so we have guests on the weekends and everything like that. But even like after a certain hour, if somebody texts or reach out to rent the space or to rent out the retreat, we wait. They can wait. And it just kind of, it's like, okay, I'll put that on my list for tomorrow.
And that's one of the reasons why my cell number is not on my card. And I have maybe 2 clients who have my cell phone number because I don't want to be that available. Mm-hmm. My clients are not having emergencies. I'm not a doctor. They're not having emergencies that, need to be dealt with in the next hour, like they did when I had a law practice, when I was just practicing law.
Right.
So, the nights and the weekends, that's my time. And I need that time so that I can perform effectively and efficiently in the week following. So I don't make myself available to people 24/7 because I don't feel the need to be available 24/7.
I have a flip your script. Like I can flip the script on this. Are you ready?
Sure,
as opposed to us looking at it like we're just not making ourselves that available. What about saying that we're making ourselves available to us? Like that. This is our time. Like this is me time. Like I'm putting myself first. Like this is, I'm making myself available for me. And this is what me and me need. Right. So it's not that we're not here for you, but right now I'm allowing myself and I'm marinating and fertilizing and cultivating the grandest version of me so I can be that for you.
Correct.
Tomorrow. At 9 o'clock.
That's exactly how I see it. Yeah, exactly. I see it like that. Exactly. Yeah, totally get it.
Because it kind of flips it around. It's like, yes, I am becoming the best version for you tomorrow. Right.
That's right.
Otherwise, you're not getting you're getting ripped off. And so am I.
Exactly. Yeah. I like that. Works for me.
I think that's the best perspective of what you just said is the idea that if I tackle that now, you're not getting the best me. And
right.
I don't want to settle for second best. Second best. I want to give you the best me. But I love that.
And I want the best you for me. Like, so I'm providing you what I'm intending that you're providing me back. So it kind of goes both ways,
Mm-hmm.
Like I want the best version of you. So chill out, watch your Netflix or go for a walk or swim with the manatees or whatever you need to do. So I get the best version.
Yeah.
Or go and chat with somebody else if you want to do business on the weekend.
Yes. The people there's always somebody available.
Yeah,
absolutely. But I just wanted to tackle onto that or touch on that because it's Monday now. So I just dealt with it this weekend to some degree. Now, again, it's up to me. That's the key thing. It's up to me to decide when I make the exceptions. Well, we were doing a book launch sort of over the weekend. The great thing about how we do the book launches now is there's a pre-order approach. So you don't have to stress about it if you're the author, but it doesn't mean I'm not watching and seeing what's happening. And then I might get a message from somebody asking, hey, did you notice this? So I'm going to be more apt to be a little bit more available on a weekend like that. But It's just like if I was doing a launch. If I was launching something of ours on a Thursday, then obviously that weekend I'm going to be a little bit more active. But
Right.
it still comes back to me having the power to choose that.
Yes.
Right. Like right now with this retreat space, we're opening it up. We're doing renovations. I'm letting people know I'm in my kayak with my little manatee landing cards and letting them know that, that we're available for family reunions and boutique retreats for your company if you need to get together in a place that's climate friendly. So I'm letting people know, but it doesn't feel like I'm, that I have to be on, it just kind of flows. And I'm sure you get that too, Lori. Like sometimes, the conversation just flows.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, Lori, I guess I'd love to ask what the future looks like for you. Like, what you're doing now, does it give you all of the rewards you feel you need? And as an entrepreneur, I'm always curious, it's a new year, fresh new year. Do you feel you'll add stuff on down the road, or are you following your 100% true passion and this gives you everything you need to? In other words, if you could live your day over, would this still be the day you would live? It's like
that's a really good question.
Ooh, that is.
No, if I could do my life over, interesting, because I went to law school, but if I were going to do it all over again, I'd really like to be a pharmacist. And so I've toyed with the idea of going back to school and learning pharmacy, but I don't have the undergrad science background. So it would take me quite a long time to do it because I'd have all sorts of stuff to make up. But I'm always, adding things to my repertoire. Like now I'm becoming certified in what's called Kolbe. And a Kolbe is an assessment, much like you've got Myers-Briggs and DISC. And Kolbe is something that's entirely different from those. And I'm taking certification and I'm starting to use that with my clients so that I can provide them a better service by really understanding how to talk to them, how to communicate, whether or not they're visual learners, how do they internalize information. So I'm taking a certification in that now.
That's so interesting.
Yeah,
I've had guests, and I don't know if it's Kolbe, but there's one test where you can actually test somebody, see how they learn the visual, the communication, is it, hands-on experience? Do you need to see it and read it? But those little miniature candy bars, do y'all have them there? It has crackle and the dark chocolate and the dark almonds. So I brought a guest speaker in because I was, running these groups. And we had guest speakers at these events. And this woman, she was actually a principal, or she ran different schools in the district. And they wanted to match the teachers with the students. Like they felt the learning style, it was really important to match the learning styles. And it was incredible what happened when the children and the teacher were matched.
Yeah.
But they use this candy bar. So if you pick the crackle, you fall under one category. If you pick the dark chocolate with the almonds, it was fascinating. Obviously there was an assessment that went with it, but it was just this kind of test to see who picked what. And then after you read their assessment, and it was 99.9% on point. Yeah. I'll have to send you whatever this assessment thing was, but it was crazy. We just passed the bowl of candy around. Everybody picked, and whatever they picked matched their, maybe they were visual, and they needed to read. Some of them were half and half. You're not just one thing sometimes.
Sure.
But I just thought it was crazy. 4 different kinds of candy. Are you milk chocolate, crackle, dark and dark with almonds, and you have a whole learning style.
Right.
It was
yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you ever heard
exactly what you're talking about?
What is the name of that assessment? It is.
Oh, that one I don't know.
Oh, but you've heard of that concept before.
Yeah, I've heard of the concept. Yeah, but I'm not sure. But Kolbe is the one that I use. I've been using it for about 20 years because it's really the only one that is. It measures who you are as a person. And what you will and you won't do. And it applies in your personal life, it applies in your professional life, and it never changes. So unlike a lot of the other assessments where you take the assessment and it's dependent on, how you feel at the moment and your stage in life and how old you are, Kolbe is completely independent of all of those things. And it will predict how you've acted before and predicts how you will act in the future.
Dang, we should package that and license it or brand it or something.
Yeah. Kolbe is absolutely brilliant. Oh my God, are you going to show us the picture of you,
Yeah, I just
Rocky Horror? Oh, look
yeah,
at that.
it's so tiny though. The quality is so horrible.
Can you like open it? Like,
That's as big as she goes.
oh, I can't even see it with my glasses on. But I get the
Wow.
gist.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Oh, wait,
guys
what,
are so
was,
much
what was
fun.
she? Who was
Uh,
she? Was she Jen? No, Jill. What was the girl's name?
I'm trying to remember now. I can't remember now. I'd be lying. I'd be just making something up just to say it. I put the Facebook link in there so people could click on that too. But for some reason it comes up like one of these tiny photos. It must have been how we uploaded it at the time. But
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
I thought I'd share that.
So is Colby with a K or a C, Lori?
K. It's Kolbe.
Okay. Oh, I would have put a Y at the end. All right, I'm gonna look that up. I always like seeing if they could figure out who I am, whoever they are.
You know what? You should take it, and I'll do your assessment for you.
Okay, I would love to. We'll set up a time and we'll do that.
Awesome stuff. So, Lori, anything else you wanted to share before we let you run off?
You know, if I was going to share anything in terms of, business advice or anything that I've learned over my life, it is this. Very simple. Trust your gut. I've had business opportunities where everything looks great on paper and my gut has said to me, nope, something not wrong. And my head can't necessarily process what it is, but I know in my gut that something does not sit right. And every time I followed my gut, I've done well. In situations where I haven't followed my gut and I've, foreseen that there could be potential problems, those problems always seem to arise. So I tell people, doesn't matter what the decision is that you're making, your gut will never steer you wrong.
You're absolutely right. That was the one thing I taught my son. He's 26 now. And that was the one thing that I knew as a parent that my son needed to know is to follow his gut, even if I didn't agree with it.
Right. Yeah, sure.
And he's 26 now and he'll like reach out. He goes, I know what you're going to say, but I just want to ask you anyway. Because he knows I'm going to say, well, what does your gut tell you? But he's like, I just want to know like what you would say anyway, just to have another idea. And I'm like, okay, this is what I would say. However, what's your gut tell you?
Right. Yeah.
That's great advice.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Lori. I'll share one last thing before we let you run, but It's on the same note. Shailene Johnson, depending on how people listening would know her name, but she's the creator of Turbo Jam fitness program. And she signed a deal years ago with Beachbody. I'm sure you guys may have heard the name Beachbody before. It's a fitness exercise program. Well, not program, but platform. And they used to have a competitor. I don't know if you guys remember this from infomercials, but Guthy Ranker.
Absolutely.
Guthy Ranker.
Yeah.
They make all of those things that slice and dice.
100%.
Oh, yes. What does that have to do with the body, though? I mean, obviously.
Because they have all sorts of products.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they would carry all kinds of different workout programs and different. I'm trying to think of an example, but like, what's that guy? Tony Little, was that his name?
Tony Little, yeah.
Yeah, he was one, and they had like so they were like the original ones that did all the infomercial fitness programs. But what's interesting is they were the leader, and at the time, Beachbody was just this tiny little company. And Shailene said she was approached by both. Now her program ended up selling 6 million copies, but when she was approached by both, they were both coming at her, and 99% of the people in the world probably would have went to Guthy Ranker because they were the biggest. But just sheer volume. And Shailene said, I don't know why, but I just had this gut feeling that I think it was two guys, but these two guys at Beachbody, you were seeing the future, and they were my vibe, and they just felt like my people. And I think she felt they were more personalized and stuff like that. And the end result is she said, I think it was her dad that said it, but ultimately she said, what should I do? And he said, what's your gut telling you? And she said, Beachbody. And he said, then why are you asking me? Type thing. And so she went with Beachbody, and there's been comments in the past that Beachbody is the house that Shailene built. And there's also been this is the one you would have heard of probably at least. The other person they say this is the house that Tony Horton built would be Beachbody. So Tony Horton's P90X.
Right.
So what happened was Turbo Jam came out, ultimately sold 6 million some copies, and Tony Horton's P90X ended up selling more than that. But I think his original number was around 6 or 7 as well. And then the third guy at the time would be Shaun T. You guys remember Shaun T?
Shaun T.
Hip Hop Abs and stuff. So, but those three people chose Beachbody at a time when Guthy Ranker was the leader. But back to your point, Lori, is how Shailene decided that was to go with her gut. And the end result is Beachbody's huge, and I haven't heard the name Guthy-Ranker in a long time.
No, I know.
Well, you know, that's at the core of anything and everything that we do and who we are. That's the core of being the best brand ever, is to get to wherever it is that your gut's at and form a relationship with your gut first. People are like, well, what do you do? I said, I help people recognize their value and trust their gut. I mean, that's it. And then I'm like, go be amazing, you know,
Yeah,
because
well, because
once you hone in on those two things, game on.
Yeah, those are very liberating.
Yeah, like that's like, because look at you, girl. I mean, you obviously follow your gut, and you've shared that with us, and you recognize your value. Like there's this, you know, value that we have that doesn't have a dollar bill on it. It doesn't have
Correct.
a time slot. It's timeless, and innately having a relationship with that value really, you know, winner takes all.
Yeah.
100%. Love it. So, Lori, this has been an absolute pleasure. I think we covered it, but now I'm starting to second guess myself. So the last thing I want to ask you before we let you run and bring on our next guest is, where can we learn more? Did we get your website address yet?
Lori Karpman.
It's lorikarpman.com.
Okay.
And my email is lori@lorikarpman.com. Or you can just put my name into Google. Just put Lori Karpman into Google. My website will come up.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
No, that's perfect. I'm putting it in the comments right now, so just to make it easier for people. But this has been an absolute pleasure, Lori. I know it has been for Elise as well. But
yes, what a sweet surprise you are.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm like, you never know. I never know who's we're going to show up with Corey. He always brings on. You're a magnet for amazing, Corey. That's all I have to say.
There you go. I have to agree with that.
A magnet for amazing.
You guys are so kind. And by the way, I have to do this now. It'll just take 2 seconds, but see if I can do this real quick. But my mother must have been listening in, and she just sent me a better copy of the picture.
Is her name? Is that Nancy? I just saw it, Nancy.
Yeah. So let's see here. Can you guys see this?
Oh, wow.
That's awesome. God, look at her.
Wow. You guys are so much fun. You do such fun things together. You're so cool.
Oh, thank you. I'll tell her. That means the world to me, and I'm sure it will to Shelly as well.
Oh, yeah. No, you guys are like the coolest couple ever.
I know your kids are very lucky to have you as their guide, their personal guides through life. Let me just say.
Oh, thank you guys. You guys are so kind. Just made my day. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate that. But again, I just thought since she sent the picture, I'm glad, because I was going to try to track it down later anyway. But it's so cool that when my mother, after all these years,
thanks, Nancy, for raising such an awesome human being. Might as well thank her. She's watching, right?
True. Well, and I was going to say, it says, you know, this is a compliment to my mother, or maybe when people say about the people that support you, how much they help you, the fact that here we are 20 years into my career, my mother's still watching the live video, which I didn't know.
I love that.
That's so nice. Thanks, Mom.
She'll probably comment here now somewhere. So awesome. Well, Lori Karpman, this has been an absolute pleasure. I knew it would be. Lori, I always appreciate you. You're amazing, fantastic. Of course, so appreciate everything you do. So we're holding space for you. And I honor you, salute you, and adore you. And I just want to thank you so much. And let's call it a to be continued. I'll let Elise say bye as well. I don't want to steal her thunder.
Well, I'm going to just say see you later. I'm not even saying goodbye.
No point. Because you and I are going to chat.
This is just the beginning.
Absolutely.
To be continued.
Watch out, world, because it's tasty things to come.
To be continued. I love it. Awesome stuff. Well, thanks
so much,
Lori. We'll let you run.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
I'll circle back in the near future, my friend.
All right. Thanks.
We'll be in touch.
Awesome. So I'm going to bring on.
I love her. She's totally New York. I don't know. Somehow there's New York in her. I'm telling you.
Okay. I'll let you guys chat.
Maybe many generations or something in the past, but you know, once the New Yorker.
Or what's that show called? I forget what it's called, but that show that's like Ancestry.com. They
have a show.
There's a show where they bring celebrities on and go back in their history. Can't remember who am I now or where am I or something. Anyway, you guys will have to do your own episode of that. Figure out.
Well, Rothman, Karpman. I mean, who knows?
100%. I'll let you both take it from there and figure it out.
So your mom said you're so welcome. He is awesome.
Ah, so kind. So having said that, I want to bring our next guest on right away. So we jump right in. So Lori Lyons, so excited to have you here today. Lori, I'm going to jump right in because I want to make sure we maximize your time.
Sure.
What we usually like to start, Lori, is to get our guests to tell us a little bit about themselves so that we can get to know them a little bit better. And then we can, of course, dive in with some questions to get to know you even better than that.
Sure.
And I'm going to say hello first.
Hello.
And nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too. And I have to say, I am not from New York, but I did live in New Jersey for 8 years. So that's a little closer.
That's
I'm a
close
Southern
enough.
girl.
Yeah, we're in Jersey. Were you?
My husband, newly married, was actually from West Orange, and then we moved out to the western part. So we lived out. We were 28 miles from the, as I first called it, the Delaware Gap. And I'm
The Delaware Gap, yeah.
I'm like, what is the Delaware Gap?
The Delaware Water Gap. That's
Delaware Water Gap. Yeah, and I didn't know what a TWIP was, a township, because we don't have townships in Georgia, so I didn't know what a TWIP was.
not a lot of states have those townships either. We usually have like the county or something else, but not a township. That's so funny. I never really thought about that. Jersey's got a lot of townships.
They do. So
interesting.
Yeah, so nice to be here. Thank you for having me. A little bit about me. Condensed story is I started my own digital marketing business in 2015 after having been laid off and downsized and quit 3 times in the past 5 years. So I decided it was time to take my life back into my own hands. I had owned my own business from 1994 up until 2006, when I sold. My company did marketing packaging. We did binders and we did folders and we did customized VHS. And then this little thing called the internet came along. And in 2006, it was pretty obvious it wasn't going anywhere. So I kind of, at that time, I made a pivot, or what I call a swivel, and started doing and branching out and doing other things. And then we hit the recession of, the 2007, and people just weren't hiring that much anymore, especially somebody who wasn't blonde haired and in her 30s. So I connived myself, or I convinced this company to hire me in 2010. And that's kind of where I got my start in digital marketing. It brought together all of the past that I had done, and it taught me the internet, and it taught me web, and it taught me websites, and it taught me a lot, SEO, taught me a lot of things. And so then in 2015, when I was laid off for the second time, I thought, okay, this is enough. Let me go back and go back to my roots and start my own thing. So that's kind of, it kind of came full circle in a very roundabout, not real circle-y way.
A lot of information that you knew, the knowledge that you had, I mean, you really could bring to this new table, right? The new plot, as I call it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And a couple of years later, as I'm loving what I'm doing, and I fought it for a long time because I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to, I wanted to do something totally different. And so I fought it. And when I finally reconciled with myself that this is what I need to do, and then about a year later, it was like, why didn't I do this earlier? I think the universe brings us to places at the right time in the right place, and it truly was for me. So
that's awesome. So can I ask a question, Corey, or do you have one?
You can ask. Something's going on my end anyway.
Is that me?
No, I don't know. I have a couple of things where it keeps echoing the background, but no, you're okay to go.
All right. So do you actually work one-on-one with clients? Do you coach? Is it small startups, small businesses? Like who, or do you have an area of a preferred focus, I should say?
Yeah, I started out with building websites. And because I didn't have my own client base, I basically said, I need a portfolio, and started building them for virtually free. If you worked with me in 2015, you got a great deal.
Yes.
Because a lot of it was confidence. A lot of it was perfectionism. There's a lot of things going on there. And then as I grew and as my confidence developed, then I started working primarily one-on-one with small businesses. And then I expand out. In fact, my first client, who is still a client today, was a high school friend. And I had worked with him before and said, you need a website. You haven't had a website since 2012. So no, I'm sorry, 2003. So it was time. And so he was my first client, small business, and then gradually have grown. And as the confidence has grown, and as the learning and the research and all that you put into when you start a business, especially when you're building out other areas of business. Now I'm working with clients from a coaching perspective. I'm about to start a small group cohort that is just totally talking about marketing, and I'm really excited to start. I haven't quite launched it yet, but I'm getting pretty close. And I've found that my superpower is working with people who are my age, that I'm calling them encore entrepreneurs that maybe they've been laid off, maybe they've retired and are bored, and now they've said, I want to start the business of my dreams. So what does that look like? And so that has been a real cool place to be, because I speak their language. I was not a technical person, so for them to say I hate technology, say, wait a minute, it's learnable. So that's kind of where I am now.
There's the relatability factor that's huge. So are you looking? So I was just on an event. I spoke at an event. It was a few months ago with Laura. It was a solopreneur event, which is very interesting. So entrepreneur, small business, and then you're a solopreneur, like as a coach, right? As a consultant. And there's a very different approach to business when you're like a solopreneur.
Yes.
Right. Self-employed, however, whatever the term is. So would you say that area, like somebody coming to you saying, listen, I'm starting out, never, and do you help them bring their skills to the table, or is it just that you give them that platform, or both? I mean, I think that you have a lot of background personal.
Yes. Yeah, I prefer to work with clients that maybe they've been in business for a couple of years and they're floundering a little bit. Maybe they've thought, I'm going to go out on my own. I'm going to try this on my own. They've got an idea of a business and maybe they're still trying to make it work, or they've thrown some money at some marketing that hasn't worked for them. Maybe because their message isn't fully expanded. Maybe they're just kind of approaching it in the wrong way. So that's really my sweeter spot, is 2 to 3 years. But I'm also, with my cohort, I'm also working with more the beginning entrepreneur, that they've got an idea of their business. I think there's a lot of people out there that help people decide on businesses, and that's not exactly my sweet spot. So I prefer them with a couple of years under their belt.
Well, that's good. It's good to know. And it's good to know that if people are helping people, then they can come and you create a team.
Sure. And I think once they've been through the, well, I'm going to try it myself, because there's so many, from a website perspective, since that's what my sweet spot is, so many do-it-yourselves and build-it-yourselves, and that are perfectly great for a brand new entrepreneur. But when they're ready to up level, or they're ready to go the next step, that's when I want them.
There you go. You're going to help them up their game.
Up their game, yes.
So I have sort of a jump off question from Claire, Lori. I'd like to ask your thoughts, because this is what popped into my head. I was, as we're talking, I went and looked at your website as well again. And I was looking at the part where you were saying schedule a strategy session, and where you talk about how your website is really the hub of everything. My question, this is what I'm curious, because you just mentioned, and maybe you guys just, sort of in some ways indirectly covered this, but for somebody that's brand new, or somebody that's been in business for a couple of years, and the struggle they have, I'll tell you where my head's coming at with this, is I'm a speaker first and foremost. And I remember back in the day when I was just starting out speaking, at the time when I needed the website the most, I couldn't afford the right website.
Right.
And then whenever I didn't need the website, like meaning because I was getting so many bookings and all that, then getting a website done was no problem financially. And so I find like that's the challenge for most beginning business owners, is they're pinching every penny. And so my question is, from a marketing point of view, or a website, but even a marketing point of view, what do you recommend to people when they're that brand new? Because it's one of those catch-22s. You don't have maybe enough money to do it right. And at the same time, if you don't do it right, how are you ever going to get the money?
Right.
Like the business to get the money.
And I'm going to surprise you a little bit, because I'm going to say you don't necessarily need a website to start a business. if you wait until you get everything perfect and you wait until you get a website, you could be waiting years. And that's not the way to start. So I tell anybody new coming in or anybody new that asks me for advice, just go out and start. And until this past year, it was, eyes to eyes, nose to nose, toes to toes. But now it's go out and find networking, go out and start making yourself known, and then the website will come. But if you don't start, you're not going to start because you're going to wait till everything is just right in place. Well, I can't go out and meet somebody because I don't have a business card. I can't go out and meet somebody because I don't have a website. I can't go out and meet somebody because I don't have whatever. And that will keep a lot of entrepreneurs from being in business because they're waiting until everything's perfect.
Well,
and
that's the
everything's
thing.
never
Are
going to
you
be perfect.
waiting? Are you waiting or are you creating?
Exactly.
That's like my whole new 2021 with my clients. Are you waiting or are you creating? Because if you were waiting, you're probably waiting now.
Right.
If you were creating, I promise you're creating now.
Right.
So waiters wait, creators create, and you can flip it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're creating and waiting for perfection, it's never going to happen. So just put it out there. Just do it. Perfect doesn't exist. Done is better than nothing, good enough is good enough,
Right. When I started my career as mindset architect and EFT practitioner, I was listening to Margaret Lynch, who I actually need to go back and follow. I haven't followed her or seen what she's doing lately, but she inspired me. She had she was doing these live events. This was way before this whole global plot twist. And you could go live or you could get a VIP ticket. And you can, watch the live event for the few days or the weekend online, which is now like everybody's doing it. But before that was very leading edge. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that she said, and it changed everything for me, and it's how I used it as a springboard for my career. She said, just own it.
Yes.
Don't wait till you finish the course and the career and the whatever. If you're a coach, own the fact that you're a coach and hone in on your practice as a coach, as a consultant, as a mindset architect, as a practitioner, whatever it is, own it right now, claim it, and then you can expand on it and grow and blossom from that seed. And I always remember it. I was like, okay, well, here I am,
Right. Well, and I was a former teacher, and I remember when I was doing my student teaching, some of the best advice that I still remember to this day is my teacher that was in charge. She said, because I was scared to death, 22 in front of 18-year-old kids. I was I was a nervous wreck. And she said, you will always know more than they do with as little as you know. And I'm like, that's right. And that's a way a lot of us in business, we think we have to know it all to go out there and start. When I first started my website business, if somebody asked me if I could do something, I'd say absolutely. And then I go to YouTube and figure out how to do it. Because that's,
say this, but my guy's the CTO of company, and he's always like, I just say yes, and Google's my best friend.
Absolutely.
That's what engineers do. They just figure it out.
Yes. If you can Google and you can YouTube, you can be an expert in anything, But for some of us, it's just the time of doing it. Is this where I want to spend my time, or do I want to spend my time here? And so it's an interesting conundrum when you look at it.
Well, to that point about the needing the website or not needing the website, it's funny you say that because it got me to think about when I go back to the speaking side of things, there's still a lot of really well-known, highly successful speakers to this date that still don't have a website. Now, what I feel where it's going to affect them is the bigger picture, because I feel like, for lack of a better way of saying it, they're a dying breed. The speakers that get all their bookings just because of the fact they've been a speaker for years and the bureau comes to them and books them. And it's like they've been able to survive for so long without doing anything online. They're still doing it. But to your point, I mean, they were able to survive. Like they were able to build a business without it. Now, it meant, obviously, if you're building a business like that and you're not really online, then that means you're probably picking up the phone, calling meeting planners and calling events, and in addition to your speakers bureau, because most bureaus aren't bringing you 100 bookings a year. So you're probably doing a lot of the stuff on your own. You're just not having a web presence. Right. But I also feel like that's going to catch up to them.
Absolutely.
If they're 45 now and they still have another 20 years of speaking, I don't think they're going to be able to do what they've done all along for 20 years. But to your point is the fact that somebody's been able to do it for that long, even when everybody else has a web presence, tells you that a person can at least go 6 months without a web.
Absolutely. And, unless you're an ex-president or Tony Robbins, and have that kind of presence, what is the first thing that you did, Corey, when we came online? You went and looked at my website. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you don't ever need a website. I'm saying that, don't wait for that to get started if you've got a passion and you've got experience and you want to put yourself out there. But I think what, when you look at it, the digital world today, your website should be the base and the foundation of what you're doing digitally. It's going to provide leads for you. It's going to be the start of your automation. It's going to be how people authenticate you and, where you show your influence, and it gives you social proof. There's so many people out there who are relying strictly on social media to get their message out there. And what I say is social media is the soundbite. Your website is the full story. So if you're looking at promoting your business and just doing the sound bites, nobody's going to get the whole picture unless they go look at your website and see who you are, see who you work with, see who's worked with you, and give some social proof to that. And that's the purpose of a website. The format of it has changed somewhat. There's people that have full-blown websites. There's people that have one-page websites. There's people that just have landing pages through other companies, through the Kajabis or the ClickFunnels or stuff like that. That's still a web presence, depending on what you're doing. It's just the function of it.
Storefront. It's like your storefront or your office.
Absolutely.
If I'm a lawyer, if I'm a consultant, if I'm a practitioner, and I had a physical office, I could go out there and hand out cards and do a little, swag and marketing. That's your social media, right? You're getting them interested. And then you need to call, you're calling them back and saying, hey, come check out, what I have to offer.
Right.
And I see the website as, your landing page is your storefront or whatever it is. But that's when you're bringing them in. That's when you're inviting them. Hey, let's hang out a little bit and get to know each other a little more. I mean, that's how I see the website.
Oh, absolutely. And for some people, it could be a first impression. If you're seeing somebody, or you're flipping through, you're scrolling through Instagram and you see a photo or you see something and you get a little taste of what that is. And then you're going to go back to their website and look and see fully who they are. Or if, in the case of physical storefronts, Amazon, you can buy anything you want at 3:00 in the morning. So
exactly.
So, and there's a case for that. So if I'm looking up, Corey at 3:00 in the morning, I can go find out who he is. I can get, start to build that relationship by getting his information that he's offering. And I'm starting that connection, and he's furthering that connection by sending me information, sending me things of value. And I think that's key, is to make sure that your website is talking to your ideal client. You've identified who that is. You're solving their problem. And, are we going to be able to solve everybody's problems? No, but we can talk and say, okay, this is exactly, they get me because they get my problem. So I think that's where a lot of business owners are missing the mark by not making that happen.
Interesting.
I love it.
So you help clients bridge that.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's more than just website development.
A
lot of web developers can develop and they can code and they can do all that, but to have the skill of being able to understand and then be able to relay that information in an effective way, that's like something that's an add-on to what you add.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's not just web, it's more like creating the presence that attracts.
Yeah, you can, they're website designers, a dime a dozen. You can go on some of the, the online sites, and you can pay, less than $100 for a website. Is it?
Well, I just wanted to make it clear that you offer more.
Absolutely.
Way more.
That's where hopefully you take yourself beyond the commodity. You take yourself beyond the, what is the value in working with me, and what is the unique perspective that I bring to you? Because that is one thing that is really fun for me to do, is to really get into not only who your ideal client is, but what the problem you solve for them is. And I use the example of a realtor a lot. When you go do networking and you hear a realtor say, I'm a realtor, you all know what that does. Well, it's not just 3 bedrooms and a kitchen. It is you're helping them with dreams. You're helping your client with memories. You might be offering their children an education because of their school system. You're offering location and convenience to work. So that's more than three bedrooms and 2 baths.
I love that.
Absolutely.
It makes me think my grandfather was a carpenter, and I always remember this. I think he said it one time, but he didn't even word it like this. But I maybe juiced it up a bit and made it sound a little bit better, because I put it in one of my songs as this word, a song called The Tale of an Ordinary Carpenter. And the line I put in there is that he spent his life giving new beginnings away, because he was building homes for newlywed couples. And that's the new beginning for them.
Yeah.
So he's
awesome.
he's given the gift of a new beginning, not just building a home for them.
Yeah.
And when Shelley and I got our latest place, I mean, we have 2 children, and we're moving from a place that we didn't feel it was going to be big enough for the extra child, the second child. And so that, I mean, when we bought
Don't tell him that he was the extra.
No, they're both extra child, as far as I'm concerned.
Bonus.
The bonus children. I knew the realtor really well. And yeah, I saw the realtor, in my eyes, is by not just saying, you should buy the first house we go check out, but actually caring about it and saying, I don't think this is right for you, and here's why. What he was doing is he was creating our first beginning as a 4-person family.
Yeah.
Because I thought to my grandfather about giving new beginnings away. So he was helping us discover a new beginning. And the things like you said about it, Lori, if you think about it, like we have a fence now and we didn't have a fence before. Maybe we'll never know, but because of that fence, maybe he saved our child's life.
Yeah.
Or if we get a puppy, we want to get I want to get a puppy more than Shelley does. I want to get a puppy in the backyard. We might save our dog from running away, and our kids having to cry about the dog running away. I mean, he's never not going to go that far into when he's selling the home to you saying, I'm doing this for you. Right. But that's really what he's ultimately doing.
No, I think that's great. And I love that line, I'm creating new beginnings. I'm going to so use that.
Me too.
Absolutely. It's great.
I'm going to, people come, I'm going to be like, you know what I do? I help you create a new beginning. Mm-hmm. I help you build your dreams. You'll become a dream maker. Yes. I like it.
We'll have to go find the song, and that could be the song.
Corey, could it be our theme song?
It could be. You'll have to listen to the song, make sure it fits. But I'll find it on.
We'll
SoundCloud.
Just do a sound bite.
Okay, I'll find it on SoundCloud, and then I'll post it in here. I might even find it before the day's over. We'll see.
That's cool.
But yeah, Lori, I love that you said that, because again, I feel like a lot of people don't realize what they're selling. Mm-hmm. That's really what it comes down to. I don't know if you guys ever heard this story before or not, but McDonald's, as an example, if you ask most people what McDonald's sells, or even not just what they sell, but what McDonald's does as a business, you'll say they're in the fast food business, right? Is that what most people would say when they hear McDonald's?
Most people, yes.
But whenever I've been through trainings where we've had employees from McDonald's, I should say executive managers from McDonald's.
Actually, real estate.
Yeah, they're in real estate.
Yeah,
they're in high-end real estate.
Well, pretty much all the fast food chains are real estate companies, and they just have to place their business on their real estate.
I just don't think most of them get it. McDonald's knows that. And part of the deal with McDonald's when you sign in is you got to agree to put your restaurant in a certain area. Mm-hmm. They want high-end real estate. And I don't know if you guys heard of CN Rail. Have you ever heard of CN Rail? Because I don't know, but I think it was a Canadian company. I think it was called Canadian National. But same deal. They thought they were in the railroad business, and most people that know anything about that agrees that's why they went under, because they didn't realize they were in the transportation business.
Right.
They thought they were
a lot of restaurant owners or mobile food owners. They say, I'm going to open a food truck. No, you're not. You're starting a business. And it happens to be, and because I used to consult in the industry and in the restaurant industry, and they were like, oh, I'm starting a restaurant. No, you're starting a business, and the business happens to be a restaurant or a food truck chain, or, get that first, understand the rules of business, and then whatever that business is that you're starting has its own set of guidelines.
Right.
Yeah, I would say stand-up comedy, because at least I did that. I'll say subjectively did it for years, because some were good shows, some not so much. But stand-up comedy, I think my view of stand-up comedy is you're helping somebody escape from their crappy day. Somebody comes to that show on a Friday night. You're not just, you're making them laugh, yes, and you might be in the laughter business, but what you're really doing for that person is you're making them forget about all their pains and struggles at home.
Escapism.
Escapism. And if you get that, I think you're going to be a more effective comic.
Right.
Because then you can say, okay, even if the joke bombed, at least I gave them an experience.
Right.
Rather than being so focused on, I got to make them laugh, or I'm not doing my job type thing. But it's just an interesting perspective that I feel like if we get to know what business we're going to have more success in it. So I love that you brought that up, Lori, because you're right. A lot like a realtor, and that was a classic example, thinks they're in the home selling business.
Mhm.
You know, most carpenters think they're in the I get paid to build a piece of stuff out of wood.
Right.
And my
Right.
grandfather got that. He was helping a couple with their new start and their new beginning.
Yeah. And they're building heirlooms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I still have a cedar chest that my great-great-grandfather built. And, you know, this cedar chest is back and forth between my sister and I so many times, you know, when we find different places for it. Hey, can I have the cedar chest? Okay, good. It's your turn now. But, you know, every time I see that, I think of, you know, my son sees it as something he stubs his toe and breaks his toe on. but I'm like, no, we're not getting rid of the cedar
He just
chest.
has a different relationship to it.
Exactly.
It's so true. Like, we have a red chair that doesn't fit with the rest of our home, but I don't even remember who started it with it, but my grandmother got it covered for I think my great grandmother bought it, but my grandmother got it covered for her, and it's gone through like 8 members of the family. And to be honest, with the last person it went through, I'm shocked that it still exists and still in our family. And he said, surprisingly, I want to keep it in the family, so I don't want to sell it. I just want to find somebody to have it. And then it went to my aunt and uncle, and they, what was their reason? Oh, it's a chair that's really like wobbly type thing, and I think they were falling out of it. So they said, "Does anybody else want it?" And so my mom said, "Let me bring it to these guys because I still want to be in the family." And it was Shelly and I, and so we're gonna have it downstairs. We're doing over the downstairs because it's a still newer place and it was unfinished, and we're gonna put it in the music room. But my point is, we don't see it as a chair. If we saw it as a chair, then we wouldn't keep it because we this doesn't fit our house. But I see it as keep it in the family because it's a family legacy.
Oh yeah, it could be a really ugly piece of furniture, but it's not going anywhere.
Exactly. And this one, it's funny. It's not even that it's ugly. It's like a retro red though.
Oh, Steve, I will totally watch that for you. That is so up my design alley. So if you ever need a place, and it'll be a retreat, people will come and love it. It'll have a good home.
I'll post a picture of it tomorrow. I'll bring a picture tomorrow to show you at least. And
I love that.
So song and chair. We've got
Exactly.
song and chair so far.
Yeah. So but to bring it back to what we were talking about, sorry, Lisa, I think I just cut you off. So I'll let you jump in.
Well, I wanted to just kind of like see the whole, you know, what you do when you're helping your clients ignite business is that you're really giving them new beginnings.
Yes.
You're helping them plant the seed that they can cultivate, cultivate, and then grow into this like new venture.
Right. And it's fun too, because there's been some cases where some of my clients, when they see what they do on paper and it's out of their head and it's on quote unquote paper, it gives them such a level of confidence that like, wow, all of a sudden they get the aura of expertise that they're putting their thoughts and they're putting their soul and they're putting their businesses on the internet, and they're getting it out of their heads.
Mm-hmm.
And it really justifies and validates what they're doing. And I think that's so cool to see, because you can almost, when you're showing people their new website, you can almost see it happen. You can almost see them sit up straighter and go, oh, wow. So that's a lot of fun. That's the reward back when that happens.
That's awesome. So where can somebody find you? Like, so you work internationally, right? Because websites, yes. I'm assuming that websites don't care what country they're in.
World International Headquarters. Yes.
Right.
Yes, I have clients all over, which is fun when you start getting into the time zones. I am so time zone challenged that I always have to like triple check. But I'm ignitingyourbusiness.com is my website. And if it's okay, they're more than welcome. I have a free gift on there where they can go and they can get the 5 websites mistakes that they might be making that are costing them time and money. And I, show them some ways that they can use their website and pull up their expertise and talk about some things that they might need to do. One of them being, who is your ideal client? What do you do with, what do you do? And I give them some exercises to really, give them some thinking about that. So that is on my website. You can go right on to the homepage of my website and find that.
And it's what is the website?
ignitingyourbusiness.com.
Oh, perfect. And Corey, can you pop that in the comments, or I guess I can, even though I'm not hosting, right?
Yeah,
anyone can.
Yeah,
Lori, even you can.
Yes, I'm just looking here.
You can put it in, because if it's in the comments when people come back and watch the replay, really I encourage anyone who's watching the replay, just scroll down and you'll find our speakers sharing their information and where you can find them there.
Right. Right. And like any good website person, all my social media is there. You can click and follow me. And I'm Lori Lyons on Clubhouse. If you haven't done Clubhouse yet, go.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you have to be invited?
Yes. And
Okay.
Elise, if you will send me your information on Facebook, I've got some invites. I just got some new invites. So
oh, you know what? Yay. Because I don't understand the whole thing. It's all
but you have to be on
me.
iPhone. Are you
iPhone?
My
iPhone right here.
Yes. So we will do the invites. I
So what do I'm just going to friend you and then we'll go from there.
Friend me and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm going to friend you right now. And I'm going to friend you from my personal page though, because I don't think I can friend you. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
That brings up an interesting point, and then I want to circle back to a couple of finale questions. But the Clubhouse thing, that's that's an interesting point right now, because I'm on it, but I literally signed up and I have the app on my phone because I don't want to miss out.
Exactly.
But I don't have time yet to dive in. And the one thing I got from somebody else who has been diving in is she said it's gold. The type of people and the amount of people she's meeting is amazing. But she said it is a whole nother social media thing that you've got to be willing to put time into. Yes. And that's where I struggle right now, is because I don't have that excess time.
Yes.
But I don't want to miss out because I feel like it's going to be one of the next big things.
Yes. Well, and they've done a brilliant job of marketing fear of missing out. First of all, it's only available on an iPhone. It's in beta. You have to get an invite. So now my Facebook feed is full of who's got an invite, who's got an invite, where do we go? And I know of several people that have gone and bought an iPhone just to go on Clubhouse. So
I don't even know what it is, but I'm just like, I want to be part of the Clubhouse. I see a lot of my friends and colleagues, they're fun on there, and I'm like, well, I want to hang out in the Clubhouse with these fun people. So
yeah, it's it's totally audio. I'll put my headphones on and I'll sit while I'm in there with my family, and I'm not actively participating from a vocal standpoint, but I'm listening and I'm following people and I'm seeing who's there, and I'm kind of, because the rooms are starting to explode and the clubs are starting to explode, so you kind of got to be careful, or Corey, to your point, it can be a time suck. And when I first got on it, I was doing everything. Now I'm being a little more selective. I've been on it since the end of December. So I'm being a little more selective, but I'm also, because I'm a video phobe, it's really easy to go on and create a room or do something and add value to people and still be sitting in your sweats and no makeup. So I kind of like that.
Well, you all don't know what I have from here under. As long as I look good from here up, I could be in my Uggs. Oh, I am, or whatever. Oh, I am.
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta and it's hot, so I've got my pants pulled up to my knees.
You're in the States?
I'm in Atlanta. Yes.
Oh, I always assume that all of your guests, Corey, are like from Canada or living there. Well, I'm in Florida.
Oh yeah, what part?
Well, we just bought a retreat, a beautiful 5-unit private suite retreat on the Weeki Wachee in Florida, in Manatee-filled land. I mean, this is like amazing here. I just went out kayaking this morning and I just posted the video. Actually, this manatee just came right up in front of my kayak, and literally they take the breath and it kind of like, they have that sound. Very cool. Literally this dude or gal snotted all over me. It's this crazy video this morning. Like, I just was like, oh my God, it's coming up right in front of me. And it was like all over my phone and in my face. But it's really like amazing here. That's so,
nice. So you're a mermaid.
Wow, I don't know. I haven't thought about that yet.
Yeah, what you were, mermaid. Yes.
Yes. That place. So the mermaids are here. The facility is under construction right now. But literally, it's not even like a mile or so down the road. So we're like this hub for the mermaids, the manatees. It's great for family reunions, friends getting together, having these retreats where you want to be outdoors and start, kind of exploring how to find your happy in environments outside of Clubhouse. You know what I mean? I'm all about it, and you'll be videoing and you could post on Clubhouse or whatever. But I mean, just being in that moment and being present.
Yes.
In the present is a present.
It's a very present thing. It's a very
present. Being present in the present is a present.
Yes.
So Lori, I said I had a question before we let you run. And then I think Elise, you might want to ask your question that you pretty much always ask. But my question is, before we let you run, I always like to mix it up. But in this case here, let's say marketing or website 101. Again, we know the real answer is they need to get to you and connect with you and work with you. But if there was something you could tell people that, whether it's because they're in the interim of reaching out to you or whatever that looks like, what would you mention to them is one or two things you think most people with a website or most people that are marketing themselves should do? Like, is there a one or two easy, simple steps you say everybody should be doing this?
Yeah. I'd say number one, make sure the website is not about you, but about your ideal client. We've gone far away from that bio type of website. So if that's what you have, you need to start looking at ways to make it about your client. Secondly, is make sure it's about the problem you solve for them. And make sure it's very clear. I think for a long time, we got into that. I've got to be cutesy and it's got to be sexy and juicy and it's got to say everything but what I do. So now I think we're coming full circle back to here's what I do. Here's how I can help you. So let's talk if that's the case.
Maybe we should talk. It's so funny. I can brand everyone else. And then, you're sitting here with all these ideas and all these, and it's like, whoa, I need a me.
Yeah.
Like, can I just Google me? And so you could show up and help me with the things I can't see, right? Because we're so in our own space that, if you're up against this painting, you're not going to see what the painting is. And, that's kind of fear where I feel like I'm up in there a lot of times. Having a space right now, an actual physical retreat where people can come is a great sounding board and platform as a speaker and a coach and mindset architect and all of that. Because it's a place to grow from, but having an online presence is the same concept, but it's about making it cohesive. And so I'm excited to have a conversation with you as well. I'm always open. I'm like, all right, bring it on.
I'd love to. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to have a whole list of appointments. You should come visit.
I will.
You have a husband and kids. If anybody wants to go kayaking, reach out. I'll friend you, and then I'll send you a link right now. We're very social media. We do have a landing page for Manatee Landing Retreat that we're kind of building, which I'm building, but I would be more than happy to have somebody else do it because I have a lot of other things going on. Yeah, but you can come and play a little bit.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll do a Flip Your Script Friday from here. I was thinking about that, Corey.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
All the guests can come. I'll have my guests live right here at Manatee Landing Retreat for Flip Your Script Friday.
There you go.
And it's funny, Lori, you were saying about the website in terms of making it about the person rather than yourself. And I was on your website, and I'm just trying to see where was it at? I think it was Make Your Marketing Simple, maybe. But whichever link I just went to, so Make Your Marketing Simple, that link, under the drop downs. If people go there, they'll get a good feel of what you're talking about. Because I always think if you can see it in real time, it helps you understand it better. And, at least just if you're not looking at it, basically, she says a program designed to teach you how to take the frustration and mystery out of marketing today. But what I like is, here you have it, is this you? And then you have the girl pulling her hair out and saying, I don't like selling to clients. It's icky and I'm lost on social media. But you're speaking directly to the person and their challenges. So people get an example of what you're talking about right there.
Absolutely. And shameless plug, they can also get to it from makeyourmarketingsimple.com.
Oh, okay.
Right. I'm having make your
marketingsimple.com.
Yeah, I guess it redirects there anyway, because when I look at it, that's the website it has on. Actually, I'll put it in, even though I know people can search that because it's an easy.com, I'm going to put it in here in the comments as well. And Elise, did you have...
Got it.
Okay, perfect. Did you have a closing off question for Lori before we...
Well, I always love our amazing guests to share what I call a mind seed. A mind seed is a perspective, right? A new perspective, maybe a new seed of thought that our viewers and listeners can plant in their fertile mind, because our thoughts grow, that you would share, a seed of thought that you would share, that when our guests and viewers and listeners plant it in their mind, that they can start sowing and growing a life that they may be loving more and loving themselves more in.
Okay. I think I've already said it, so I'll go back and repeat it. Perfection doesn't exist. Good enough is good enough.
There you go. Done.
That
and
was
if
easy.
perfection is holding you back from happiness, we need to find out why you're giving that more value.
Right. And it's, it's something that I've been doing a lot of self-study on because I realized that I was doing that. So I've really been kind of like, okay, let me learn to recognize it so that I can recognize myself. And to your point, Elise, doing tapping on it. So
Well, that's my 3 steps. I help my clients recognize, release, and then restory
yes.
who they are as the star of their show.
Yeah.
Like if you're waiting, well, we got to get you creating.
Right. I love that. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, perfect. I love it. So tapping, tap right into
I
it.
Awesome, awesome,
Perfect.
awesome.
Well,
So-
there you go. That's an add-on for you, for your clients, is that you can help them get clear.
Yes. Yes.
Love it. So, Lori, this has been an absolute pleasure. I knew it would be. We already gave your website, but did you want to give it one more time again? I know you gave the makeyourmarketingsimple.com, but your main website, did you want to give that one more time before we run?
That's ignitingyourbusiness.com. IGNITING, yourbusiness.com.
Awesome stuff, Lori. Well, I so appreciate you making time for us today. And it's sort of a holiday as well.
I know. Elliot's off today. He's like, "You're working on a holiday?" And I'm like, he's Canadian. I mean, come on. Corey's Canadian. He doesn't get it.
I'm afraid I gave Corey a little bit of a heart attack yesterday because I totally forgot it was a holiday when I scheduled this. And my husband's home. So he's like, let's go do this. I'm like, why don't we do that? I'm like, oh.
I know. I'm going to be done by 2:15. I said, we're going to go play. I promise.
Totally. We just redid. So it was fine. It was good. I didn't want to leave you guys in the lurch.
Well, now you could go play, right? Now you're good. All right. We'll have fun, whatever you do.
I so appreciate you making it work, Lori. And again, it's been an absolute pleasure. We will let you run so you can go play. And we will call it I always call it to be continued because I know it's not the end.
Would love to. Yes.
Awesome. Just
Thank you guys.
Conversation in a journey of many.
Have fun today.
Thank you.
Awesome.
You too. It was a pleasure meeting you guys.
Yes.
Thank you so
Same
much.
here.
Bye.
Awesome. So if you're okay with it, at least since we're on a roll, I'm going to bring on our last but not least guest today, who, by the way, is also not in Canada.
Also not. Oh my God. It's like, well, for our first guest was.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. But still, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, as Meatloaf said.
You go. I know. Meatloaf. That's funny.
So,
Hi,
Sarah. I think I asked you this before, Sarah. We're going to ask again so I don't butcher it. But pronunciation of your last name, is it Willoughby?
Willoughby. Yeah, Willoughby.
I thought I had it because I know we did a call recently and I double checked it then. So I thought I would double check. So, Sarah, what we've been doing is what we do with our guests is basically getting them to introduce themselves before we dive right in. And then we can chat and get to know about. Oh, something going on?
I'm hearing like background. Like, does somebody have their sound on?
I was hearing background, but I don't anymore.
No, I think it's gone now.
Okay. It's gone now. So, Sarah, if you don't mind, maybe we'll get you to tell us a little bit about yourself. And then, of course, we're going to dive in and get to know you further anyway. But if you wanted to tell us just a little bit about who you are and your backstory, and then we'll jump right in.
Sure. So I live in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And I have 3 gorgeous children who are my biggest blessings in life and my greatest teachers. And they're a big part of my story. So I spent 10 years, I'm originally from the UK, you can probably hear in my accent, and I spent 10 years working in corporate HR for large multinational organizations, and I always felt like something in life was missing, like we were just putting a Band-Aid over people's problems and moving them on. And at the same time, I was going on this massive journey through secondary infertility, which resulted in me almost losing my life when an IVF cycle went disastrously wrong. So I had these 2 bigger life challenges going on at the same time, and I just felt like something needed to change. So once I'd made my recovery from my secondary infertility and I came out of intensive care, I really sort of looked at myself and thought, am I doing everything I want to do in life, or am I going to live a life of regret? You know, if that had been my last moment, have I achieved everything I want to achieve, or have I been living a life of fear? So I had this massive, time to self-reflect, and I realized that one of the things that I'd wanted to do was come back to Australia. I'd visited in 2004, 2005, and I'd allowed fear to stop me from taking that plunge. So we basically packed our lives up and we moved to the other side of the world. We didn't know anybody, we didn't have any jobs, and we began a new life. And then from there, I started really investing in myself, and I went on this huge journey of self-discovery and began to fall in love with myself and really awaken to the fact that life is not just 9 to 5. And so I set up my own business. I got into energy healing, and now I'm a personal growth coach as well, and an author and a speaker and an infertility coach. And I love what I do. And it's just so refreshing to be in this space and to help people, you know, really connect with themselves and work out who they are, why they're here, and help them reset their life. So yeah, that's kind of it in a very short nutshell.
Awesome stuff. And so, Elise, can you tell it's not a Canadian accent?
I can tell. And actually, I would have thought you were from Australia.
Oh,
with
really?
that accent. Yeah, well, yeah, so where in England are you from originally?
I'm originally from the north, and then I spent a lot of time in Gloucestershire, and then I went to uni down south, and I lived in Bristol. So even from a UK perspective, it's
I think you have a culmination of, but
yeah.
you sound Australian, so you probably fit right in.
Well, they think I sound really posh here. They're like, oh,
yes,
you're so well spoken.
Aussie.
Very posh.
A poshy Aussie. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I love that story of, you know, coming out and going, you know, if this was my last day, right? Would I go back and say, hey, okay, I'm good, you know? I had the same experience when I was paralyzed at 18. That was a gift, because then I realized when I went through this process of self-healing and all of this and walked out, I had made a decision that I was going to make a life that I loved, as opposed to a living to support a life that I think I might love when I can afford it.
Absolutely.
So kind of when you said it, I got goosebumps. I'm like, yeah, like I get that. I've been there. Like,
yeah, and as you say, such a blessing. You know, people say to me, oh, wow, that's a lot to have gone through. But that was the biggest blessing in my life, and I have such gratitude for that every day. I would not have, and it sounds a weird thing to say as a mother, but I wouldn't have loved my children and looked at them every single day with the gratitude that I have if I hadn't have been on that journey. I just wouldn't. I know that. I would have been more focused on, you know, the things I was missing out on, the sleepless nights, the troubles that our children bring us, and you know, the learning lessons the hard way, rather than just being so incredibly grateful for the fact that I now have 3 amazing children who, you know, challenge me every single day and make me a better version of myself every single day.
oh, they're so lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, is that me? Just
I,
is that me?
I think it might be, because it's only happening when you were asking if it's you.
Wow, that's weird. Is it gone?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what just happened. I feel the same way every step I take. Like, I feel like, you know, when you're being paralyzed and then all of a sudden having this like magical gift of mobility again, right? It's a gift.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the same thing. And I look at life as like, oh my God, this is magic. You know, what's going to show up? How can I tap into that and, you know, be the magnet and the attractor? And so it's the same, like you get to enjoy your kids, like ultimately.
Yeah.
And help others recognize that gift for themselves.
Yes, yeah, and help others that, you know, are having an infertility struggle to try and realize that dream, because for me it was a very difficult journey, you know, full of loss and grief and trauma, and I don't take for granted that, you know, it's easy for everybody, because it just isn't. So yeah.
So your 3 children. Is that me again?
I think it's you again.
That's so weird. It's been fine the whole time. I can take off the headphones and see.
Now we can't hear you. I think you're on mute. It's back here. So you need to unmute. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're quiet, but I can hear you.
All right. Well, anyway.
I can hear you.
So my question though is, so the 3 children that you have were pre-journey or post, like the game-changing moment, as I call it?
Yeah, so my son was kind of mid-journey. So I'd already started this journey into self-discovery through meditation and mindfulness. So he was right at the beginning of that. It was actually his 15th birthday yesterday. And it's a really amazing day for me, because he was born 2 months prematurely. So I was giving birth to him not knowing whether he was going to survive, not knowing whether he was going to have massive difficulties. And that was a huge journey in itself. But he came straight away. He was like literally honeymoon baby. So that was, you know, all wonderful, no problems here. And then my middle child, she took 4 or 5 years to arrive, and I had lots of miscarriages and ended up in intensive care trying to have her because I'd been told IVF was the only way to have another child. And then when we moved over to Australia, she arrived within, you know, was conceived within 6 weeks of being in Australia, started this new life, and she just suddenly was like, hello, here I am, I've been waiting for you to move to the other side of the world. And then I went on this massive journey when I was pregnant with her. I was like, right, I can't go back and work in the corporate world because I'm now pregnant, so what am I going to do with my life? And I learned energy healing and then started setting up my own business. And then I did a deal with the universe for my 3rd child. I'm like, right, if we're going to do this again, which I really want, but I don't want to do it the hard way. I don't want to have any more miscarriages. And I really need a baby that's going to sleep because I love what I do work-wise and I want to go straight back into it. Then I need the perfect baby. And she was. And within 2 weeks, I was back working. And she's just been such a blessing and such a cruisy, easy little thing. So, yeah, so it's kind of everything was unraveling at the same time.
Yeah, but it seems like you honed in on your ability to be the creator of everything that you want in your life and get really clear.
Yes, and I think that was the turning point for me. Was I remember having this moment when I arrived in Melbourne and we were staying in a serviced apartment while we waited for our container to arrive. We had 3 months while we were just living in this 1-bedroom apartment, the 3 of us. And I remember thinking to myself, this is what life feels like when it goes into flow, when you're in the right place, doing the right thing with the right people, when you've let go of fear. And I never want to forget this moment. Please don't ever let me forget it. And energetically, I haven't. I can tap into that moment. I can see it. I can feel it. And I've used that throughout every challenge I've had since to trust and know that if my guidance is saying you need to do this, even if it makes no logical sense, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm very grateful for that.
It's so amazing that you bring that up because that's one of the key factors. One of the beginning pieces of coaching somebody is to find that moment that they could evoke at any given moment.
Absolutely.
Like that's our first journey to recognize. I know that there's a moment in you that when you think of it, you can feel how awesome that feels.
Yes.
And you have that's like priceless and timeless. You could tap into that forever and never have to go anywhere. Like, because you got the feeling that you're going for.
Yeah, it's absolute gold stuff. Yeah. And until you've experienced it, it's something that sometimes when I first start working with clients, they're kind of looking at me like, I'm not really sure what you're thinking about, but you know, and then they'll have it, through the period of time that we're working together, they'll be like, I had that moment, whether it's through meditation or through a session that we've had directly or whatever it is. So it's really beautiful to be able to watch people's journey unfold and see that transformation within themselves.
Or tap into something that they didn't recognize was that in their life before.
Yeah.
Like it's there. Somehow it got lost, but it's still there.
Yes. Yeah.
So did you recognize in this journey that you had, because I work as I help people recognize, release, and restore from their story, their internal linguistic script, their beliefs. Did you notice when things shifted for you and you conceived and that you were in moments where your vibration was more raised, that there was more of what you want in your life as your focus as opposed to that fear and holding back?
Absolutely. I was actually really living in the present moment. I was starting this new life when nobody knew who I was. I was actually, for the first time in many years, I was Sarah. I wasn't the woman who was struggling to conceive, who'd, had this terrible experience in intensive care. I was just me. And it was this opportunity to have a fresh slate and to start again. But very much living in the moment, we had no idea where life was going to go. We'd made this massive decision. We'd left the UK in the middle of the recession. We couldn't go back even if it didn't work out. We only had a limited amount of money, and it was like, we really need to make this work, but we're going to enjoy the process. And so every opportunity that came up, we took. Every experience was a new one, and I felt that within myself. Absolutely, as you say, it's just that feeling of, I'm here. My vibration, I could feel, had changed, and then everything starts to fall into place. And it's an incredible experience when you go through that. And that's what I love working with clients with, is helping them experience that for the first time.
Right. And being now like little seed that's planting going, yeah, I'm going to hang out in this for 9 months, not in the that version before. I'm not hanging out in there for 9 months. Too much stress, too much tension.
Yes. Yeah.
Creating a home for this little being to hang out in.
Yeah.
You know, somehow we have a choice to who we're going to hang out in and when.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely agree. And I feel very blessed that my children chose me. So.
And so, Sarah, one of the things you told me when we were chatting was about your move to Australia and how it didn't necessarily come at the most opportune time.
Yes.
Can you dive into that a little bit further? Because I thought that was so intriguing that you guys still pressed on with the move. And, you know, it was like things don't show up all the time in the universe as we want them to. And I know for you. So can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, so we were actually granted our visas to come over to Australia at a really sort of interesting time where I had just been through my experience in Norway. So it wasn't even in the UK. We were overseas doing IVF. And I'd recovered from that. And then we'd gone back to Norway to have a frozen embryo transfer. And I got pregnant with twins. And so there was this big part of me that was like, right, the jigsaw is now completed. I don't need to move to the other side of the world because I've got what I wanted. This is, you know, ultimately my dream. I'd always wanted twins. This is how I was going to have twins. It wasn't going to happen naturally. So this is all suddenly making sense. And then we had 8 weeks in which we'd been given our visas and we started packing up our lives. And I was pregnant with my twins and we were coming over to the UK, over to Australia, as a family of 5. And then I lost one of the twins. And then a number of weeks later, I lost the other one. And it was like, okay, do we still go? Because the embryos are in Norway. And what do we do about that? And we've only got so much money, which we spent moving to the other side of the world. So how do we work through that? Or do we go to Australia? And we very much made the decision that we were just going to go. We felt like we had nothing to lose at that point, and that we would work it out. But because everything had fallen into place in terms of the visa application process and the fact that it didn't take very long for us to even get our visas, which is really unheard of, I just felt like I felt like I was coming home. And I just had to keep holding on to those memories of the time that I'd spent in Melbourne 5 years prior and knowing that it was still the right decision. But it was hard because I was coming over, you know, working through that process of leaving the UK, packing up my house, painting every room in my house, working out where we were going to be living when we came over here, knowing that I'd lost, you know, my 2 children and that they were, in my mind, were supposed to be part of that journey of starting a new life, but they obviously felt differently. So, yeah, but then obviously it worked out as soon as I came over here and fell pregnant naturally with my daughter. So I trust the universe. They know better than me, funnily enough.
Imagine that.
You get to one of the things I noticed when I was checking out your bio is that you actually live by the beach in Melbourne. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty choice. That's a pretty exciting way to live your life, especially when you weren't born there.
I absolutely love the beach. The beach is my temple. I cannot imagine not living by the sea, and I'm blessed that I'm literally a 5-minute drive from numerous beautiful beaches. And what helped me through 2020 when we were stuck in our 7-month lockdown here and we could only go within 5 kilometers was that my beach was within 5 kilometers, and I went more or less every night and watched the sunset and walked along the beach and just grounded and was present and was grateful for that. That kept me sane and kept a lot of other people sane. And yeah, I'm just incredibly blessed. And I do sessions with my clients actually on the beach sometimes, and we go down and we just be, because people take it for granted that it's always there. But I like to encourage people to go and explore it and realize that, you know, we shouldn't take it for granted. We should go and enjoy it and be very present in the moment while we can.
Yeah, I live obviously. Can you guys hear that?
It's not me.
So strange.
I'm not doing anything.
I don't know what's going on. I was going to say we take it for granted too. Like Elise is near water. I'm near I live in an island, so I'm near a beach every 15 minutes as well. But it's true, as people, it's easy to take that for granted. Especially like I grew up with it. This is where I grew up. So so many people like, you're so lucky to live there. And, I grew up there going, yeah, will I go to the beach today? I won't bother. It's a 15-minute drive. And, then when I lived away from the beach, I lived in Western Canada where I was just near mountains, but no water. Oh, every day I was like, if I could just be near the beach. And so we do take it, when you mentioned that about taking it for granted, I think we can tend to take it for granted. And that's why I said, when you're from sort of not from there, because for me, I took it for granted because I grew up near it. It was just easy. I could drive to the beach any day. And then when I left, I missed it so much. And I'm not everybody's that way, but I missed it. I feel like I need to be near seafood and water.
You definitely have to come visit here then.
Yeah.
I was one of my many inspired careers. I was a chef on a sailing yacht. This was after I was paralyzed and had that opportunity to realize I was going to live my life. I ended up in Tortola, British Virgin Island, and I was a chef on sailing yachts, and we go from island to, island and that kind of thing. And I have to tell you that paradise does become every day. And I remember thinking, like, after 2.5 years, like, this is like a bus route. Like, yeah, I've been to the Baths and Virgin Gorda, and I've been to Road Town, and it becomes every day. So you do need to kind of check back in, have a refresher, change your environment, and come back to appreciate it again, because paradise can become every day.
So true. And
I remember thinking that paradise is every day. I never would have known that.
Well, just as a side note, at least you mentioned we'll have to come and see you, and we will. But for us, Shelly and I mean, when we're able to travel, we spend a lot of time in Florida because of what it offers. And that can vary. I mean, we love Orlando, but Orlando doesn't really have the beach as well. We have to drive to it. But Miami,
these are springs. These are like spring-filled canals with manatees, and it goes out to the Gulf. Like, there's so many different geographical aesthetic places in Florida. Like, we think beach, right? Or the Keys or whatever, but there's forests, miles and miles of Ocala forests and preserves. And it's just amazing, really, and it's freezing. I'm just telling you, it does get freezing in the winter in Central Florida. Like, I had my hat and my hoodies and my Uggs and my fleece pants on this morning kayaking. So, if you're down in the Keys or Miami, it's 80 degrees right now. So we do get, some seasons.
It is January too, right? So
it is January, but I mean, January in South Florida is still like 80 degrees. So
yeah, as a side note, I flew in. I remember one time I was going to Tampa, and I flew in to the airport, and I remember I walked out, and I was wearing a muscle shirt and shorts because I was like, it was winter, like February.
Florida.
Yeah, but I was already like, I'm going to be, as soon as I got to the airport in Canada, where it was still storming, I was putting on the shorts. I'm like, I'm all in for this week. And I got to the airport and went to the rental car thing, and I'm dripping sweat, 12 o'clock midnight, wearing this. And he's like wearing a parka. He's like, dude, this is the coldest day of the year. You must be Canadian, are you?
Well, and that's only an hour from here. So that weather we get, like that cold weather that you don't think is very cold.
No, we didn't think it was cold at all. So to circle back around with Sarah, I wanted to ask you about the work that you do with clients. I mean, one of the things I noticed on your Facebook as you referenced peaceful life, and so can you talk a little bit about that? Because one of the things, as Elise knows, I always like to go talk about, because we like to talk about mindset a lot here, but is what you do in the way of self-care. I mean, obviously you got some blessings there, like you're that close to the beach and all those other things, but there's some strategies or habits or things you do to make sure you're taking care of yourself and taking some of the power back in relation to your health and care?
Yeah, that's a journey that I think a lot of people struggle to go on, particularly a lot of the clients that I work with who've got children who are sort of around about my age, is giving ourselves permission to do those things that bring us joy and that recharge us. You can't go through life from working from an empty cup. So I work very much with people about what brings you joy, what fills you up. So the things that bring me joy and fill me up are meditation. So I meditate every afternoon, and that recharges me, and it gives me just a really clear head and mind, and is a beautiful way to rest and recharge. I also give myself permission on a regular basis to have me time, which I love. So we're very blessed down here to have some hot springs, some beautiful hot springs that are set out in nature. And I will go there pre-COVID as much as I possibly can, and just have a day just in the hot springs. And for me, being in water is really soothing and calming. In summer, I swim in my pool as often as I can. So we don't, unfortunately, have perfect weather every single day here because it's Melbourne and it's very, very changeable. They all say you can have 4 seasons in one day, and I know that to be true for sure. So I will swim in my pool as much as I can in summer and just give myself that time out to relax and recharge. And also spending time with friends and spending time with people that I call my tribe. So those people who are on a spiritual journey that really I connect with and understand, and we can just make sure that we are not calling each other out, but holding each other accountable to, are we being the best version of ourselves? And Corey's disappeared, so I'm just going to say to you.
So weird. It's like we're possessed.
It is. Where have you been? Was I boring you?
not at all. I don't get booted out by the universe.
You're like, I'm just going to check out. I'll come back in 10 minutes. She's off on one.
No. I love what you were saying. Where I lost you, and it was just for a second, I think, was you were saying surrounding yourself with the right people as well, those spiritually minded people.
Yeah. Just I've got some beautiful friends who are all on their own journey, and we check in with each other and we spend time together and support each other. And I think every single one of us needs that support network, particularly at the moment. And we've all been very isolated. As I said, here in Melbourne, we've had 7 months of lockdown last year. Fortunately, we're not in lockdown at the moment, but it was really challenging for people. And just losing that human connection was really challenging. So I think that has really helped me remind myself and appreciate the people that I have around me that just really understand me, understand part of the journey that I'm on, and help me to get back on track if you're having moments of self-doubt or you're finding things particularly difficult. And we all do that, even as coaches. You don't have all the answers because you're continually growing and evolving and changing and learning new things. So I really always encourage people just to have a look around in their life and try and work out who drains them and who fills them up, and spend more time with people that fill them up. And I know it can be challenging because I know some of them are our family and we can't necessarily ditch our family, but as much as we can, just be mindful about where we're putting our energy and who we're spending time with.
So I hear I'm echoing big time now. I don't know where this is all coming from. This is like the possessed.
No, I feel like there's somebody's in there.
Yeah, there's some weird energy, but it's a good energy though. It's serving us for some reason. I just put it out to the universe that thanks for taking care of us, whatever's going on.
I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I'm on a Ho'oponopono journey, actually, the Hawaiian healing. I'm like, okay, whatever's showing up, I'm just going to heal it within myself.
Okay, well, heal it for us then, at least. And
I'm doing it. I'm on it. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you a question from a parent point of view, and I'm going to ask it 2 ways because it's an unfair way to ask it from a single parent point of view because I'm not a single parent, but my mother was a single mother when she raised me. And so you mentioned about families don't often take that time because we don't feel we should, or we have children that we're supposed to be, spending all our time on them and that kind of thing. But a 2-part question. If you look at when you're working with parents, because I'm sure you deal with both situations, 2-couple or a 2-person parent marriage situation, and then one where it's a single parent, how do they achieve that? So my question I'm asking with this is, so my girlfriend and I are somewhat lucky. We try to give each other breaks, so much so that in February she's going for 5 days by herself with the baby, the youngest baby. I still can't breastfeed. I haven't been able to figure that out yet. So she's going with the youngest baby, and she's going for writing. She wants to write stuff she's working on for 5 days. And then we're going to go on a couple thing in March because that's our anniversary. And we try to do that as much as possible. But not everybody's like that, especially like you might be like that. You might want that, but your partner might not agree to give you that time. So what do you recommend people do if they don't have the ability? Because a single parent, it's hard for them to just say, if they don't have somebody to mind the children, it's hard for them to say, see ya, I'm out. So how do they get those times? Like, what do you recommend? Is it just maybe getting them like seconds at a time, or doing a 5-minute meditation once a year? Like I'm just curious to get your thoughts on what we can do, or what you help people with if they're in that situation where they don't really have as many of those support systems in place.
Yeah, well, firstly, I'm a single parent, so I understand that journey, and I don't have any other family here. So it's me and my ex-husband. Unfortunately, we co-parent beautifully together. I will give myself credit for that, and we do still support each other. But on the days that I have my children, I have my children, and it's down to me to take care of them and to also manage my own self-care. It is like you said, it is about taking moments in time. So sometimes we set ourselves up to fail by saying, well, I'm not going to start doing that, or I'm not going to invest in myself because I don't have a clear hour. Well, you might not have a clear hour, but you might have 5 minutes. And even if you just need to go and sit in the bathroom for 5 minutes and have 5 minutes of peace and quiet where nobody's going to come in, go and do that. And then you can build it up from there, because you then, your body and your mind are really recognizing the benefits that you have from doing that on a more regular basis. So I always talk about it in snippets of time, and even just 2 minutes of meditation every day is amazing. It really does make all the difference if we just focus on our breath for 2 minutes every day. And I say to people, sit in your car for 2 minutes before you go into the office and meditate just for 2 minutes. At lunchtime, go and sit in a park and close your eyes for 2 minutes. If you're on public transport, do the same. Set an alarm so you don't fall asleep. Whatever works for you, there's always a way around. And then the second thing that I always say, particularly because I do have friends who are also single parents, is asking for help. And I know that that's something that people really struggle with. It's almost like there's a feeling of vulnerability around putting your hand up and saying, I need some time and space for myself. And being able to call somebody up, whether it's a friend, whether it's family, whether it's an external provider, and saying, I just need to schedule in some time for me, and trying to do that before you get to a point where you desperately need it and you've already partly fallen over. So again, it's about recognizing the messages that your body is giving you before you get to a point where it's almost like it's too late, and then you're in survival mode and you're trying to backtrack and solve a bigger problem. So it takes practice, and it takes a lot of self-love, I think, really, to be able to do that for ourselves, because often we are given the message you need to give to everybody else before yourself. And, I know that parents struggle with that, and there's a lot of people who care for their elderly parents, and we're all at that age and stage in life when we've got so many other people to think about. But until we focus on ourselves and give ourselves permission to have that time for us, we can't be there fully for other people. We just can't. We can't be our best version. We'll fall over at some point.
Well, Lisa Nichols, one of the things she said to me in an interview, and it always stuck with me, because everybody says, don't start filling from your cup until your cup is full. But I love what Lisa does, a little twist on that. And she says, well, if your cup's just full and you start giving to other people, then your cup's not full anymore. You're giving away your cup. She says, put a saucer under that cup and then overfill it, and don't start giving from it until it's flowing into the saucer. So only give your excess away. Don't give just yours. And I love that take on it, because, again, it's one thing if we just get ourselves fully full, but then if we deplete ourselves again, we're going to be drained again an hour later. But if we somehow get it overflowing. Anyway, it's just, I know it's a metaphor, but it always just...
No, you're absolutely right. And I've heard that too fairly recently. And I love that analogy. It really does work. It's like living that life of overflow. Maybe I'm slightly pessimistic with people. If some of my clients, I know I need to start with the let's fill your cup up first. And then it's like, we'll work with the overflow second, so that, they're not feeling like they're overwhelmed with overflow. I'm on empty. How do I get to overflow? It feels like...
How do I get the happy?
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
the other question is that what is your cup full of? That's something that I talk about a lot. Like, if something happens and you find yourself frustrated or angry or resentful or insecure or whatever, that's in your cup. So you could thank whatever situation it is for knocking your cup over, but the only reason that came out is because it's already up in your cup. So when we get to clear that cup and then intentionally choose what you're filling your cup with and what your cup's overflowing with. I met a lot of clients whose cup was overflowing, but it wasn't with stuff that they wanted in the cup to begin with. So, like, check in your cup and see what's in there right now. Because if you're finding yourself frustrated right now with this global plot twist or resentful or blaming, that's already in your cup.
That's a good point. You can take this metaphor in a few different ways, right? Like,
well, I mean, because we are like this cup, right? And so whatever comes up, any situation, whatever response we have, already in the cup.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
Sarah, one of the things, I don't know if you even saw the news today, because I sent it via email and put it on Facebook, but I don't know who all seen it yet, because I don't know, depends if you see the tag or not. But at least I mentioned this at the top of the show, but Sarah's one of the authors in the book.
Oh, congratulations.
Lori's story was as well. I didn't think to bring it up then. But Sarah, I can officially say, is a co-author of our international best-selling Blue Talks book. So, Sarah, I want to congratulate you on that. But then, and you and I chatted about this on a quick interview recently. But can you, just for those that are maybe hearing about the book for the first time, can you tell people just a little bit about your chapter in the book and why you wanted to write that chapter? And I know it's a little bit about what we've already been talking about, but can you tell us just a little bit about it as well?
Yes, and I did see your email and your post, so I was very excited. I was like, yay, very exciting. So my chapter is about, so obviously I wrote that last year, and 2020 for my family was a really difficult year. And I reflected on the year I was having and tried to put together how I was going to work through 2020. And I realized that I was able to get through 2020 and know that everything was going to work out perfectly, as it always does in divine timing, by drawing on the strength that I had found going through my disastrous IVF cycle in Norway in 2009, and realizing that some of the biggest blessings in my life came from that. So the chapter is about that moment when I say goodbye to my son, when he leaves me in Norway and I don't know whether I'm ever going to see him again. And then the things that I learned along the way, and knowing that if I hadn't have learned meditation and mindfulness, and I hadn't had a hypnotherapy before I went into hospital, and I hadn't worked on my mindset, I'm not sure that I would have pulled through that. I have to be honest when I reflect on that. So I share some of the things that I've learned on my journey, talking about gratitude and the things that we can really do to help balance us and bring us moments of joy, even in those really tough times. So it's a reflection on 2009 and what really helped me through 2020. And I know a lot of people are still struggling this year too. So I'm hoping that there's some tips in there that will help people to reset and gain some strength and inspiration that everything will work out how it is supposed to at the right time.
So do you believe in synchronicity? I think I know this answer.
Absolutely. People talk about coincidence and synchronicity. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in synchronicity. And again, that's something that I work with my clients on, is that the messages are always around us. It's just we're often too distracted to hear them and see them and feel them and know them. And once we take a step back and we really meet ourselves and get into those moments of silence, however we do that, whether that's through weeding the garden, dancing in the living room, meditation, reading a book, we all have ways that we really change our energy and connect with self in the best possible way. When we do that, we're really able to hear those messages and to know that we're on the right path and help us to make decisions, the right decisions for us.
At least I want to let you ask your final question in a second. But Sarah, one other thing, the reason I should tell you the reason I asked that question about do you believe in them is you just mentioned gratitude as one of your self-cares and how you mentioned it in the chapter. Today's Monday, so I guess it was Friday in the mail. I got John Martini's book, The Gratitude Effect, I think it's called. And it was mentioned at least on our last event, which is what made me order it, but it took this long to get it. And then somebody I know really well just sent an email out this morning saying, oh, my newest guest on the podcast is John DeMartini. And he doesn't do a lot of podcasts. I never see his name associated with podcasts. And so today, pretty much in my head, like I got the John Martini book about gratitude. You mentioned gratitude, and John Martini's on his show. I don't know what that's. I don't always know what
it's a confirmation, Corey.
Yes.
That I'm on the right track, right?
You're on the right
track.
path.
I see this like little, universal, the big something, God winks.
Yeah, wink. Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Like
Y'all good, dude. You could just check that off your list for today. All good.
Keep doing what you're doing. I love it. I just wanted to bring that up because it's in the moment. So, Elise, I know you always have a question you want to ask, and we're getting down to the last few minutes. So, I want to give you a chance to ask that to Sarah, and then Sarah will find out how we can connect with you further and learn more and all that kind of stuff. But at least I'll let you ask your common question that you ask every time.
Yeah, and actually there's a bunch of seeds. So I have this flip your script concept, and I talk about thought weeds, belief weeds, right? And then mind seeds. The weeds, the thought weeds we pull, the mind seeds we plant intentionally, and these seeds that are planted in our fertile mind start to grow into these realities and perspectives that are amazing. So I always ask my amazing guests, if you have a seed of thought or perspective that you would recommend or invite somebody to maybe plant in their fertile mind, and sow it a little bit, nurture it, focus on it, and see how it grows in their life, and maybe helps them grow a life that they love and love themselves a little bit more in.
I think there's a phrase as you were talking that's coming to mind, and I know it's a very common phrase to use, but for me it really does resonate right now, is, you are enough. Each and every one of us is enough as we are right now. Now, that doesn't mean that our behavior is always okay. There's always room for improvement right there. But as the essence of who we really are, we are always enough. We are love, we are light, we are exactly who we are supposed to be in this moment. And we are our worst critics through life. The things we say to ourselves, we would never dream of saying to other people. And I just want to encourage people to be gentle with themselves, to really notice the things that are going well in their life, the things that they're, the moments of them being their best version, and really focus on those, the things that bring them joy, the things that light them up, because those are the moments that are going to help us to deal with the challenges of this year and forthcoming years and just life generally. And when we feel that we're enough, other people feel that we're enough. It's that vibration and that recognition of self and that mirror effect too. We then start to attract different people into our lives, and the people that we need to be with us on the next part of our journey. So it's all about that energy and that vibration, and just really, just really loving, going on that journey to self-love and self-discovery, because it's incredible. It's so exciting, and we're with ourselves, whether we like it or not, for the rest of our days. So we might as well make it the best relationship we can.
That's awesome. There was another God wink that you shared. So I wrote a children's book called I Already Am. And it's a children's book for adults as well. And it's to remind you that we already are everything we think we need to grow up to be, or get a degree to be, or have more money to be. And I was like, if I knew I already was growing up, I wouldn't be having the self-concept meltdown in my 40s that inspired me to write the book. So the little ones would recognize that they already are, and the parents reading it to the kids would recognize, you know what, they already are.
Yes.
And I already am. So we are enough. So thank you for that seed. It's so vital.
Awesome stuff. Well, Sarah, this has been an absolute pleasure. I knew it would be. My last question I kind of hinted to is just going to be, if you were to direct people to what I call the hub of where people can connect with you, or whatever that looks like, is there a place you would send people if they want to know more about you, the work you do, or just want to reach out and say hi?
Yeah, so the first place is my website, which is sarahwilloughby.com.au. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Sarah Willoughby 2019, and Facebook and Instagram, Sarah Willoughby Australia. So if you search for my name, you'll pretty much find me. But I love connecting with people, and I really encourage people to check out what I do. And let's go on a journey together.
Awesome stuff. Oh, I guess we're getting that echo here.
I even got my crystal. I'm like, okay, what's going on?
So Sarah, that's awesome. I will obviously encourage people to go in that direction. We will wave the flag for you. You know, this is to be continued. We did an interview recently, and that one was about the book completely, a short interview, but it's also going to be going over to the podcast soon. So they're going to be seeing more of you, Sarah. But I thank you so much for joining us today. This was an absolute pleasure. I'll let Elise say her goodbyes as well, but just thank you so much for joining us today and being so gracious and open with all your sharing.
Yeah, thank you. And I have a very simple question. What time is it there?
It is 6:17 in the morning, so the sun is just rising, and I'm ready to welcome my children into the day. So I said to them, "Don't wake up before 6:30. You've got to stay in bed. I don't need interrupting." And they were like, "What?"
Oh, well, thank you for getting up so early to meet with us.
My absolute pleasure, and I've loved chatting with you both. So thank you for having me on.
And
Thank you.
just for clarification, is it Tuesday then at 6:30?
Tuesday, 6:18 now. So yeah, almost breakfast time.
So what's going on tomorrow? I'm just kidding.
Well, tomorrow I'm on another podcast.
Right. Oh, well, tomorrow for them.
I meant tomorrow for us. Like,
Yeah.
is there anything we need to know about? That's a pretty cheesy joke. I was just thinking, like, you already know what the future holds for us.
I do. So what's going to happen today is your children are going to wake you up, shortly, and then you're going to go take them swimming, do some intensive swimming lessons that they don't want to go on because they think it's boring. And then, you're going to have some lunch. And
Okay, so that's perfect. I'm in the know. I went back to the future. Well, like I said, Sarah, this has been an absolute pleasure. I thank you again so much. And to be continued, we'll see you in the very near future once again.
we will. Take care. Thanks so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Sarah.
you.
Bye.
So Elise, I'll just do. We'll both just do quick goodbyes if that works okay for you. Only because
Well, a quick see you tomorrow.
Yeah, quick see you tomorrow. Yeah, I got to get away from that word goodbye because it's never goodbye.
See you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile. Whatever,
To be continued tomorrow.
Exactly.
But yeah, so just wanted to say what a great first day kickoff. So many amazing guests. We went truly international today, and I think that's so cool. But yeah, so many great, as you say, mind seeds that if people really apply these, this could be, honestly, I believe that most of what we cover in these interviews could change a person's life if they're willing to take the action on it.
Oh, they're life-changing.
You talk about things like gratitude. Doing gratitude on a regular basis can change your life. Meditating. I mean, it's been proven it can change people's lives. We talk about feeding your mind. Feeding your mind the right stuff can change your life. I mean, we could go on, but a lot of what we cover in these interviews, there's hints to what you can do to transform and basically flip your script.
Exactly. I had a guest on last Friday, Jean Sumner. She's the executive director and founder of World Wellness Education Organization. And she talks a lot about, she went through this very intense journey where she had this diagnosis that was fatal. And she's here, 11 years, 12 years later, she's doing great, snowshoeing in Minnesota. But anyway, so she's the founder of this organization and talks a lot about eating the food that we eat. And I talked to her about coming together and working on what we would call a mental diet. So the mental diet consists of the thoughts that we think on a regular basis. Are you waking up and what thoughts are now being planted and focused on, and are you cultivating for the morning? So if we think about the mental diet as how we think and the seeds of thought we plant for lunch, breakfast, lunch, dinner, happy hour, whatever, we start to digest with our thoughts first. That's how our body responds. We look at epigenetics, we look at, the neuroscience of how we think, and really our whole body operates based on how we feel.
100%.
So I love the whole mental diet thing. I'm putting that on the shelf right now for this week, and then we're going to kind of reconvene. And I'm not sure what the mental diet's going to consist of, but it definitely we'll be pulling thought weeds and planting mind seeds or something like that. I don't know.
I love it. Well, and I'm a big fan of going on a news detox as well. That's another thing we've talked about here that could change your life, especially now. I mean, the news now is a totally different beast than it was.
Yeah, but it just has a different topic. It's the same. Listen, you're going to go to a the supermarket, you're not going to get stuff to build a roof. Like, so you have to choose, where are you going to go get your information? This is paid information with a very specific intention and agenda. And really, the foundation of the media hasn't changed. It's just the genre and the topic and what, what's the flavor of the day or the month.
True story. Yeah.
So, I mean, it really hasn't changed. It's just what they talk about is changing.
100%. And I'm also a believer, like, it depends on, each person's different. And I don't try to make the case that somebody has to go to News Detox just because I did. But if you're somebody like me, like when I'm traveling, I like talk radio. And there's some of it that's positive and some of it's not so much positive. But what I always say is that's fine. If we're talking about a detox, then let's look at it positive in versus positive out. So if I'm gonna listen to the news radio for an hour, I need to find something else that's gonna offset that on the other side. Whether that's meditating, like meditating for 15 minutes will probably offset an hour of the news because meditating is that powerful. And not only that, I have a force field because I've been doing this so long. I've been making all these deposits that if I have one day where I have to withdraw, it's not going to deplete me. But yeah, so I mean, just to clarify, because a lot of people say, well, I'm not informed if I don't watch the news and all this other stuff. And we have a whole discussion about that. But really,
what are you informed of, though? I think choosing to decide what we want to fill our cup with first
100%.
is, that's the first step. And then you can decide where you're going to go to do that.
100%. And yeah, and so what I'm driving at is that if a person feels they need to do that or they enjoy it, you might even enjoy it. I mean, hopefully you don't enjoy like the super negative news, but there's also news out there that's like I say, talk radio. Sometimes it's just two discussions that you can learn stuff from the discussion, and they might go to the negative a bit, but they might also talk about this local entrepreneur that did something really cool. And so if you decide, okay, I want to listen to that, and I know there's going to be a bit of negative, well, you just need to offset it somewhere.
Exactly.
So I just want to say that because I don't always want people to think I'm just an advocate that you have to turn off the news. But having said all that, I mean, those kind of things that people are sharing when we're on these interviews, again, game changing for people if you take them and use them. So that's why I believe so much in this. So having said that, at least as far as tomorrow,
yes,
I'll just tell people who's coming up as our guests, and then we'll let everybody run. I will say as well, since I mentioned it off the top, the Blue Talks books 2 and 3 are now out. Blue Talks 1 is driving back up the charts again because, of course, the new two ones are out. So then they're driving interest in the first one. And we did a trilogy sort of release as well. But if people are watching this and they want to grab a copy of the new Blue Talks books, whichever one speaks to you, or all three, whatever that looks like, Amazon's probably the best place right now. We did have it on a pre-order site, but now we've moved it over to Amazon. So literally, if you type in my name on Amazon, that's the easiest way because it's going to put up my different titles. You'll see Blue Talks 1, 2, and 3 on there. So feel free to check it out. And so that's out now. As far as tomorrow, though, who we have coming up, we have Darlene Way, who she does more than this, but how I met her is she's a hypnotist. And so, she's a therapeutic hypnotist. So not like the hypnotists that go on the stage and get you to do stuff that you regret the next day. But she actually helps you heal through hypnosis. Again, she does more than that. She's author of various books, and she's a fellow Islander. So she is from Canada. She lives in the same place that I'm at. We're probably only 20 minutes away right now, and we would only see each other like probably once every 3 years. But
that's wild.
It's crazy. Well, she lives in the other town. Like it's almost like Orlando to Daytona Beach. So like, I mean, that's like an hour, but I said we're 20 minutes, we're probably about 45-minute drive, but she does live here in the island. So she'll be emanating from not far away from me. And then we have Jessica Dirksen, who is in Western Canada. And I'm excited to hear Jessica share a little bit about her story, share a little bit about, she's in the book as well. She is actually the Habit Queen. And she's a health coach, but she goes by the Habit Queen. So I'm excited to talk to her about habits because obviously that's a big part of us taking on some of these new changes and life transformation. And then we have Lori Changer coming up as well. And Lori's a teacher, but she's also an actor, and she does a lot of local theater. So I'd really want to dive in there and see what she can share with us about that as well. And all three of them, let me think here. I got to go back to the first name, but all three of them are in the Blue Talks book series already. Darlene was in the very first one. The first best-selling one came out right now. She's in the back here somewhere if I look for her. And Jessica is in, I think, this going by the top of my head, I think she's in book 2, and Lori's in book 1 as well. So 2 of the 3 of them are from book 1. But they're in the Blue Talks books. Two of the three, one of them has spoken at one of our events already. The other two are going to be speaking at our upcoming events in 2021. And so these guys are really immersed in the Blue Talks world. So
that's awesome. So exciting.
So that's kind of
and congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, it's
for being on your stage in San Diego like a year ago or a year and a half ago. I don't even know.
Yeah,
year and a half ago.
Oh my gosh, what month are we in right now?
Well, it wasn't last November. It was like the November before that. So that was like right in the beginning of the whole coming out of Blue Talks. And since then, you have like 3 books out now and virtual stages. And, you know, it's amazing. So you go. Whatever you're doing, fist pump.
It's you know what? It's honestly, I mean, I'll take just enough credit to say that if anything else, I actually had the infinite wisdom to go ahead with it once I thought this makes sense to do. But I mean, all these amazing people, and you said it yourself, these people that we're bringing in here, they're such a big part of it. It takes a community. It takes a village, as they say, and these are all the people that are in that community. But yeah, so I mean, I thank you so much, and I mean, I continue to be so floored and excited by what's happened. And I mean, this is a side note, but my 2021, you talked about your goal of 2021 and vision. My 2021 is about scaling. And so, for example, with the book series, Kelly Filardo, who's been involved in the book series since day one, is taking more of an active role in 2021. Like, she's going to be managing every aspect of the book series. And so I'm trying to move my way a little bit further out so I can actually be the face and grow it. Because the one thing about it that hasn't happened yet is it's mostly been grassroots. It hasn't been like me going out and doing a ton of media, which is amazing to think all this stuff has happened without any real media. But I also want to get out there and actually put it out so that it becomes global. And I think that's going to be what it takes to happen. And I have to make it more scalable for that to happen. So just that's the FYI of what in the future will look like.
Well, it's exciting. I'm glad to be part of this and hosting the Flip Your Script stage for Blue Talks. I see a huge future and growing. Like I said, you know, we have this beautiful retreat space now. So we do have a physical space that actually fits within the global climate for people to come together, and we can, you know, virtually go live from here and share a lot of exciting experiences. So there's a lot happening all over. And I just think, you know, we're here to create. Absolutely. Right. And just because the global plot twist or the scene of your life looks like it does right now, you're still the star of your show. And so how you show up as the star is what matters.
100%. Well, and I was going to
matter the scene.
No, for sure. Well, and I was not to interject. I was just going to say that you know, once the global plot twist switches its twist a little bit, and everybody can travel equally, we'll have to look at doing some sort of event where we can bring it there, and maybe it becomes like a Blue Talks adventure or something different.
Well, yeah, and I'd love to do a Flip Your Script weekend with Blue Talks, right? Yeah. So we can actually, and then we can go live. We can have a virtual event. People can buy their tickets for the weekend, and we'll be hosting it from here, going live from here. Just like Margaret Lynch, when I went to her, I think it was Tapping into Success or Tapping into Wealth, one of her big events. And I was virtual. They were at the hotel doing their thing, but I got to be a part of it, but I didn't have to physically be there. So I see that as being something that we can utilize our stage that we've created over the past year or so to launch something like that.
100%. Let's make it happen, my friend.
See you tomorrow. So what are we on for, noon Eastern?
Yeah, noon Eastern tomorrow. And like I said, I mean, we probably won't stick around to those exact themes, but we have the potential to talk about hypnosis and talk about habits, and then also local theater acting. So it's going to be awesome. So thank you so much, Elise. This has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will be both back here tomorrow at the exact same time. George just said good info today. Just got my copy of book volume 2. Awesome. Great stuff to hear, George. Yeah, I sent George a copy of book 2, and it's already there. I think it was sent like 2 days ago. It's amazing. Wow. It's funny.
I'm in Canada.
No, it's the opposite. I'm in the furthest east of Canada, and my own copies of the books, it says we'll be arriving between the end of January and February, and yet everybody else that I talk to is getting them within a day. Mine's going to be like 3 weeks to a month.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
Crazy. Yeah, because it's a little island and everything seems to take longer. But It is what it is. It'll be here when the universe wants it to be here.
Exactly. Isn't that a relief?
100%.
Just count me out. I'll be here when you show up.
100%. Thank you so much, Elise. Thank you, everybody. Till tomorrow, we will be back
Tomorrow.
again. And so appreciate you guys.